I was too excited to go to scene intro. I was gonna say scene 5, but no, I only have 3 scenes in this intro that I was gonna go to originally. But I am too excited to do that. We are going to finish this game. I've played it before already, start to finish, literally last night. Instead of editing, which I probably should have just edited. But I was too excited to see how far I had left, and I'm safe to say it's not that far. And I love it already. But I didn't get my own opinion on it, because I thought I would just wait to stream to share with you all my own opinion on this. So, we have this together. I am also slightly tired, but that should be fine. I played a horror game to wake me up enough. I think. We'll find out if I'm awake enough. Right. Hot chocolate secured. Chew smoothly transferred his tilt from his right elbow outwards the world to the left, in one inward to the table. You're so great at English. Where's my mouse? He's not my real uncle. Kids he knows just get to call him that. Like how Tamarag's Omi is everyone's granny. Chew's got his mom and dad plus 2 extra people? Just how big was his family? Wonderful. You should get something fun. It's the first day of school. That's its own reason to celebrate. Now what do you want, Callie? Just remember your parent is here and she wouldn't want you to get anything with too much milk either. Lactose intolerant as well? Exactly. I'll keep that in the back of my mind then. Even if Callie finds their way here without you, I won't serve them milk. That's okay. I wouldn't do that anyway. I know, Callie. Still, I appreciate how responsible everyone in this establishment is. You too, huh? That's a bad club to be part of. Oh well. Sorry, kids. But you should go on. Callie, there's plenty of options. You whispered an answer to Mother. And what you mumbled was... What about hot chocolate? It could be mixed into water. Well, as long as it's mostly water, that wouldn't be too bad. Alright. I mean, hot chocolate is typically mostly water anyway, with a splash of milk. A hot chocolate? Yeah, I had follow-up questions about toppings and that all got sorted. After a nod, Yusuf transferred the pen to the same hand that held the notepad. He lowered them both. I'll return shortly with your drinks. Please take a minute to browse the menu. He left you there, leaving with wide, purposeful strides. Mother watched him walk away. Small-town hospitality is a real treat, isn't it? Yeah. You quietly glanced through the meal options. During that time, the man who had the ham and the hat left. The ham was gone. He still had the hat. Then Yusuf reappeared to serve a round of drinks. You put in the dinner order before he left you to enjoy his gift. And enjoy it you did. From the very first sip, it was so yummy. Chio knocked back his mug of hot chocolate with gusto and got a whipped cream moustache for his effort. Your mother savored the once-in-a-decade root beer float as slowly as possible. She didn't care if the ice cream melted. Nothing was loud or fast or busy at the diner table. A person pretty much had to take it easy in a place like that. There was no other way to be. When I arrived, the main course tasted okay. The food was food, and you'd rather not be hungry. She stuck to grown-up appropriate conversations over dinner, like what you learned in class. There are a lot of things kids could only talk about with each other. Mother shared all about her day, including a horrifying story about how she thought there was a mouse in the master bedroom. But after catching it underneath one of the moving boxes, it turned out to be a larger than normal heap of dust. She insisted the lightning in that could have fooled anyone. Then the food was gone, sort of. You were able to finish every bite. Your mother didn't. Mother hardly touched half of the sides that came with her home-style meatloaf. She planned to take them home to add to her lunch tomorrow. Chief stuffed himself. He left not one crumb or a single drop. The plates that were empty got stacked, and the used napkins were piled on top. He mouthed and made sure the table was neat as a mess of dirty stuff could be. The tower of dishes caught your waiter's attention, and Yusuf approached your booth once more. He always had something in hand when he stopped by. This time it was a frayed folks leather folder. Yusuf placed it on the table. You got a better look then. In gold letters across the top, it said thank you. He brought the check before Mother needed to ask for it. Hello, I hope you enjoyed your meals? They were wonderful. Thank you for asking, and thank you again for the drinks. Mother's praise brought a grin to Yusuf's face. The local waiter toyed with a buckle on his apron, straightening it like it was a Medal of Honor pinned to his chest. He served his customers well that night. Thanks for coming in. You pay at the front. Sure, I'll handle it. Oh, can we get a couple of to-go boxes? Yes. That's great. One more question. Mother lowered her voice into an exaggeratingly strained whisper, as though the people in the next booth over were secretly listening to the conversation. The diner table? She seriously did not let that go. Is the pen on purpose, or did someone miss an N? Grimson Yusuf glanced over his shoulder. He shared her pain and her concerns about being heard. I would not have chosen that if it had been up to me. But yes, that is the intended name. There you have it. That's all. Thank you for your gracious help tonight, Yusuf. We feel extremely welcomed. Glad to hear it. Good night, everyone. Nice meeting you. Yusuf offered one last friendly smile, then took the pile of dishes and 2 cups off to the kitchen. You should stand up for a minute, dear. I need to get past. You scurried out of your seat as she asked. Mother had a few words as she got to her feet. Stay in the booth while I'm gone. I'll come right back. Then we'll pack up the leftovers and head home, okay? Yep. She left in the opposite direction Yusuf had gone. Her footsteps were muted thumps against the thin carpet. You had the booth to yourself then. None of the grown-ups were left. When she was sure of that, he abruptly stretched himself farther across the table, poised like he was ready to pounce. I found the stuff. And that was as long as he could hold a straight face. She erupted with laughter. I can't believe you broke into my backyard again. We wanted you to have a surprise. I was surprised for sure. It was pretty cool. Thanks. She sighed softly, and the pattern stopped. He had returned to peace. Full and warm and sleepy, you felt every second of what you'd been through lately. You had done so much and met a lot of people. How did that happen? How did that much happen in only 2 days? It was unbelievable. Against your will, your body slid lower in the booth. Gravity was suddenly a lot harder to resist. Sitting tall was no longer an option. Your drowsy gaze wandered towards the window and the dark night beyond. There'd been nothing in the parking lot beside the diner, not even lampposts. You hadn't expected to look at anything in particular, but it was raining. That you could see. Water streamed down the glass pane, some point between when you walked in from the car into the dining table. The first sprinkle of fall began. Rain wasn't good ever, but it was more terrible when there was thunder and lightning. Already dreading having to go out in the drizzle, you frowned at the back panel. Each time you opened your eyes after a slow, heavy blink, the patterns of droplets clinging to the window changed. There were endless orange and red and yellow and gold leaves in the grove. That wasn't striking about the current situation. The weather was thick grey clouds that showered the world was just as important to the core as to the core autumnness of the place. You didn't like it, but when you thought of Thor, the picture in your head was of leaves and drops of water falling. And it had arrived. You had arrived too. When your family wanted to go out to eat, you went to a local diner, and the waiter there treated you special because you were a local. When you needed to leave, you had a house with a room that was all set up and waiting for you to go back to. When tomorrow came, you would continue your studies as a student at North Acre Elementary School. You were in room 24 with Miss Murray for the teacher. When you saw your neighbours, you'd know who they all were. And you had friends. You were going to be in the place for the rest of autumn. You'd still be there for winter when the new year came. Seasons would be coming and going with you in Golden Grove. And you weren't sure for how long. What you did know was that every moment of it, was now your life. Step 1, moment selection, and the tutorial is back! Now that you're beginning your life in Golden Grove, you may want to check back on the details of your character or update them. The info button on the right side of the screen will bring up the menu with several options. The first option is your details. Here you can change your sticker, swap between multiple sets of pronouns if applicable. Toggle dress-up sections on and off, and update your nickname preferences. By default, most characters will obey your general nickname preferences, unless you manually sort them into one of the provided categories. Oh, in my private playthrough, Autumn was always in user's nickname always, and now he's in user's nickname sometimes. That's fun. However, if you tell someone in the game to use or stop using your nickname, they will automatically change categories. New characters will be added to the screen as you meet them. You can also check your relationship with Chew and Tamarack with the Chew relationship and Tamarack relationship buttons on the left. Enjoy your time in Golden Grove. Yeah, I recently learned this. So I could switch back and forth. I'm actually gonna change this to 50-50. And just set that to manually save. Manually change. So, when I was doing my private one, I was just doing it to see if, Darren, I think it is? Oh, the Darren Derek. I think it's Darren. Would change his mind about, how he reacted to me if I used the he, him pronouns. But no, it's the same because I am biologically a girl in this. So that's interesting to me. And we've got all these stickers. In my private one, I'm using the notepad because it looks cute. But my one is obviously the backpack, as you saw when we zoomed out and then back in. We're gonna do wheels first, and then walks. and then we'll do the Step 2 preview. I also always changed some stuff here. Actually was this, but I think I'm gonna leave it as is. Actually, no. We're gonna take this off because we're doing wheels, and I think it'll be cooler like that. Hello again. We have another brief tutorial for you. It's time to explain the concept of linked moments. All the scenes in the game have bits and pieces, and certain choices will end up impacting later parts of the story. However, there are some sections that are especially tied together. The moment walks and the moment wheels are an example of that. They are linked moments. Even though you chose wheels, you can still pivot to the walk moment. That's because the two stories share an introduction. If you had chosen walks first, the opening scene would be the same. In this linked opening scene, Chu and Tamarack have different ideas of how to spend a weekend. You can be the tiebreaker or leave it up to them. But either way, the group will plan to do the other suggestion on another Saturday. When or if you choose the second moment in the pair, the game will acknowledge how it was and set up a plan you'd made in advance. If you replay the game, it's definitely suggested to switch up the order how you do moments to see how things change. There aren't any other linked moments in Step 1, though there will be more in Steps 2 and 3. Yeah, that's why I did wheels first, because I did walks first in my one. It was Saturday. One of the 2 days in a week where there was no school at all. Having time off from classes and homework was good. You'd had lunch at home with Mother a little bit ago, when she tackled the after-meal cleanup. Your mother encouraged you to go outside while the weather was good. There was only a 17% chance of rain, she told you. And then she went on to ramble about how it seemed in this town anything over 20% was essentially a guarantee of at least some drizzling. The talk about weather had gone on for another minute before she remembered you were standing there, listening. Mother urged you to leave her to do the dishes and go enjoy the weekend. It was under those circumstances that Mr. Chulin had gathered both of you and both yourself and Tamarack Bowman in the center of the cul-de-sac for a neighborhood meeting. He had something he wanted to ask. Do you have bikes? No. She came up with the reply immediately. What? Chu's shouted reaction was more instant somehow. His brain hadn't been prepared for anything other than a yes. How do you live without a bike? Like this? The golden-haired girl did a jig to show how great she was at living with no bike. She tapped her toes and waved her hands in the air. Chu leaned his face away from the show. Alright, okay, what about something else? Anything with wheels? Just like that, her limbs flopped down again. Tamarack squished her lips from one side of her face to the other, thinking. I've got a scooter from my mom and dad in one of the closets. That works. She wrote with the change in expectations. Then he glanced at you. Callie? Yeah, I've got my roller skates. Oh! Tamarack started the bikeless dance up again. Chu fumed in relief. Finally, Chu revealed the reason he'd been so keen on this wheel talk. You know, I'm meeting with the club today. Oh. Chu's boys club, or boys club, whatever they decide to call it. Him and those 2 older kids. Next to the mysterious boy and the one you didn't like. It is sort of a club thing, but you can hang out with us. I thought we could go on a ride together, and everybody would like it. She scratched the back of his head with his left hand. Were you and Tamarack the only kids in Oregon who didn't have a bike? Oh yeah, I recently found out that between Golden Grove and Sunset Bird, it's like 10 hours to get to one place to the other. Since Sunset Bird is in California and this is in Oregon. So it's not that far. All of Chu's friends must have so. It'll be okay if we but we've still got the whole afternoon and the whole group. Don't want to go to the stinky town. Sorry. Calling Golden Grove the stinky town got a chuckle from Chu, but Tamarack was totally serious. Why can't we riot things in the neighborhood? 'Cause we live here? We always stay in the neighborhood. It'd be cool to leave while we can. I bet even you would like to go where we go because it's the park. There's plenty of trees and stuff around. Have you seen that, huh? It's on the opposite side of town from us. Back where the high school is. The park is the best place to ride for speed and tricks. There's no cars or hills. But just walking around is good too. Tamarack narrowed her eyes in silence. That itself was an obvious answer to Chu's question. She had not seen the park. Wait, you did. So did Chu. The neighbor on the right was thinking hard. Then she let out a sharp gasp as she hopped in the air, like a tire popping. Is that the special thing? Well, laughing and shaking his head, Chu barely managed to give Tamarack a straight answer. No, it's not the park. That thing is totally in the forest. His snickers and voice got quieter, the more they went on until you could hardly hear him. I didn't remember I said that. I should have written it down before school. After the total swerve Tamarack had managed to pull, Chu took control over the situation again. Yeah, I could show you that, if you want to do it. You had to laugh. You kept Tamarack waiting, and it wasn't even part of the joke anymore. He forgot about it. That made it funnier. Chu was totally unfazed by your reaction. He was too committed in going on with his own explanations. The rest of the club would come with us too. We'd have to give up on riding through town and seeing the park though. For someone talking about not doing what he wanted to do, Chu's voice was light and carefree. Okay, I want to do the special thing. Cool. There's more days than today. There's time to do everything we want. Cal, your sorcerer magic is at work again. Sticking his hands on his hips, Chu leaned towards you. The smile decorating his face was way too big, come across as nonchalant, as he made his voice. All we gotta do is work is a promise to hang out again. We can go to one place this time, and the next time we'll do the other thing. Everyone will get everything, and nobody will miss out on anything cool. That fixes it. It looked like Tamarack wasn't committed to playing without the boys' club after all. She just agreed to spend 2 weekend days doing so without blinking. In fact, she was super perky about it. The roundabout trip of words Chu laid out had taken Tamarack from a point of complete disinterest to feeling like the boys' club activities were pure genius. At some point, Chu had shifted his hands behind his back. He kept that wide, I can't believe it's all come together grin as he popped up and down on the balls of his feet. Thing was, Tamarack would have gone over that without Chu's fancy footwork. You were certain of it. He didn't need to try that hard. Chu was crazy over the top with how he got along with people, but Tamarack was extra straightforward. Kelly, you're the tiebreaker. I want to see the special thing, and Chu wanted to do the other thing. Yeah, we need you to vote. Baxter and Darren don't know the plan, and anyways, they're not going to care if it's riding to the park or going to the forest place, especially if we're going to do both of them on different days. What do you think? He asked with great eagerness. This was the final step of the perfect path that Chu had laid out. It was spending time with Chu. Obviously, you were gonna join. You nodded. Great. That resolved part of the question. It didn't help the group figure out what they should be doing next. Tamarack and Chu turned to one another, blank-faced. Oops. The daisies. Then the shorter girl grinned fiercely. We'll have to fight. There's no other way. She held up her tiny fists, squeezed so tight they were even tinier than usual. No, that's okay. Chu kept his hands wide open, flailing them in front of his chest. We can do the special thing first. The park will happen later. A peaceful resolution was reached. Tamarack chuckled, very pleased. It was hard to say if Tamarack really thought she could take Chu in battle, or if she guessed even suggesting a fight would lead to her win. Considering it was Tamarack, it was probably the first thing. It's a promise. It was. You and your friends had a promise. We've done a switcheroo, because I didn't do anything. Step 1, walks. Oh! He started suddenly from a thought in his own head. Eyes opening wide. We're not riding. I gotta call the guys so they don't bring their bikes. Be back in a second. She gave a thumbs up and dashed away before anyone could say anything about it. Tamarack kept her eyes fixed on the retreating boy, as if he might be trying to escape and not show her the special place after all. She shut his house door behind him, and the neighborhood went completely silent. A realization came to you too, in Chu's wake. If you were leaving the neighborhood, your mother was going to need to know about it. Mother didn't stop you from doing stuff, she just liked to be aware of what was going on. Tamarack, I'm going to tell your mother what we're doing. Okay. I'm going to stay right here. Yeah, she was determined not to let Chu get away from this. With that, you left. You found Mother in the kitchen and explained what was going on. She thought it was wonderful, appreciated you keeping her abreast of your busy schedule, and hoped you'd have fun. Mother wanted you to be home before dark, though. You could do that. Tamarack waved from her spot on the road. She hadn't moved an inch, and was the only one there. Chu's job wasn't done yet. It took a long time of standing there, probably 10 minutes before Chu came back. Eventually, though, he burst through the white door, yelling ahead of himself. He must have agreed that it took forever, because he wasn't wasting even a second then. It's all good! When Autumn arrived at the center of the cul-de-sac, he wiped his forehead with a gloved hand, then talked some more. Everybody ready? Yes. Tamarack's voice was low and serious. I'm very ready. I'm ready too. And so, you and your two neighbors set out for places unknown. Well, unknown to most of you. The first leg of the journey you took down the hilly road. It was the only path out of your neighborhood. You had to follow it to get to the super secret location. Your small group marched along until you arrived at the heart of the town. You had to crane your neck to take in the full view of the swelling arch-marked Golden Grove. It towered over the main street and all the people in it. But it didn't distract you for long. You scurried out of the road before a car could come by. You and Tamarack were right behind you. Being there felt different that afternoon. You had to pass through a part of Golden Grove on the way to school, and your mother had taken you around town to run errands and stuff. But none of that was the same as wandering on the main street, just because. For fun and because you could. Tamarack silently came up to your side. She made a squish face out of Sad, the local boy, conveying that she for sure still didn't like the stinky town. Personally, you lost your original interest and just thought of it as normal. You couldn't stay out of even a wordless exchange for long. He began to list out exactly what the buildings were. There's a barber store, clothing place, a library, an antique shop, a thrift store. At that he paused, the bullet points to fit in a slight joke, though it's not like you can tell the difference between those two. They're both selling old junk no one wants anymore. Jew and Tamarack snickered together. Not even Golden Grove was safe from Jew's teasing ways. My Omi loves antique shops and thrift stores. Yeah, she does. Oh, and down there on the corner is the corner store. You've never been in, right? It's a great place, tons of stuff. And it usually only costs a few dollars or less. I've got to say something about it, but let's wait for the club. And that's what he did. Jew zipped his lips and folded his arms. You guessed he wasn't tired of keeping people in suspense, even if he was revealing one mystery. Tamarack let out a sputtery, puttery breath and slumped against the brick wall behind you. Okay, we can wait again. You, Tamarack, and Chew held down the meet-up spot. Random adults passed by every once in a while. A lot of them said hello to Chew. They knew him. Tamarack said hi to all of them. She didn't know those people. It took even longer than it did for Chew to make those calls. But then Tamarack flung her arms towards one side of the street. She sounded the alarm and brought an end to the watch. There! He followed her guideline. A pair of figures were speeding round a corner. Willow, Darren, Baxter! Chew sprang to the curb of the sidewalk. He waved the two over with both arms. The missing members of his club joined the group, setting exactly into place at Chew's sides, like the gloves he wore on each hand. Hi! Hey! Darren beamed at Chew's enthusiasm for a second. It faded fast when he glanced at who else was there. Looking was all he did there. Yeah. He doesn't like us very much. Gonna go back to them. He wasn't gonna point out the obvious again. Darren had resigned himself to hanging out with more than the usual boys-only trio. He wasn't excited that he had to come on the trip, so it was even. Max's expression wasn't exactly happy either, even though he was smiling. That's because the smirk didn't count as being friendly. Hi! Tamarack's grin was the exact same as the one she'd given to total strangers, who happened to cross her path. This is the first time you'd all gone together to do something, and it sure was obvious. Alright people, we're here. We know the plan. Special place. Tamarack whispered those two words into her scarf, anticipation sharpening the tone. Yeah, but before we leave town, let's get supplies. The corner shop is right there. So that's what he meant before. She had been planning a detour to the store. Don't go into the woods unprepared, because the things in the woods are prepared for you. Exactly. She could count on his club following his lead, and instead looked to the biggest possible source of disagreement. Tamarack. Come on, we can pick out some stuff. It's gonna be great. Tamarack's eyes narrowed, almost like she had given her a dare, and she was gonna beat it. And then she went for a messenger bag. From the depths, Tamarack revealed a plastic bag jam-packed with cashews. And it wasn't a snack-sized baggie, it was a sandwich-sized one. I've already got food. This isn't even all... Well, and I didn't have to pay anything. Darren brought a hand to his face, astounded. She scratched his head at a loss. Baxter couldn't care less. He was not involved in the happenings. She's actually prepared. Huh, yeah. Guess you don't have to do that. Your neighbors seem to be on the page about the plant hadn't lasted long. She liked to ride to places. Tamarack would rather walk. Tamarack brought her own treats. She preferred to buy snacks on the way. They lived on opposite sides of the cul-de-sac and lived opposite lives. And you were in the middle of it. Me, Darren, and Baxter still have to stock up. Kelly too, maybe. And then it's fun to look around, you know? Tamarack crammed her bag of cashews into her even bigger packed one. Into her bigger pack once more. Her face of pride had fallen into a frown. Fine, but after that we have to go to the special place. Thanks, Callie? Sure, we can go in. Awesome. Now the complete group's first order of business commenced. You crowd your way through the door at the end of the sidewalk. Having to exist on a single corner didn't really allow much of the space for the store part of the corner store. The place was probably smaller than your classroom, but it does also look nice. Especially the paintings are around. They look really nice. Wait, did I read the one? Oh yeah, I did. It was warmer inside, and the air was stiller. Wooden panels covered the ground. Thick wooden beams crossed the ceilings, and shelves tightly packed with familiar snacks were fit in wherever possible. Instead of being inside the extra small shop, it was more like being inside a gigantic treasure chest. You checked out the things closest to the front. Gio wasn't kidding when he said it had a lot of stuff. Your light steps still clacked against the hard floor. They resounded above the slight humming coming from the fridge in the back. Nearby, Tamarack switched her head this way and that to grasp everything in the new environment as rapidly as possible. One twist of her eyes met with yours. She didn't keep going from there. Tamarack continued to look at you. She grinned. It was easy for you to know what was on Tamarack's mind. You and her were the same again. It was both your first times being in this place. After everything you'd already done, you were still newcomers to this town. Meanwhile, Chew and his crew moved into the store as if it was their own living room. They navigated to the chip and cracker aisle without a thought. Left to confront the hundreds or thousands of things there to be brought, unconsciously packed at the pockets of your clothes. You didn't have money. Why would you have any? Words of your personal savings were interrupted when your ears caught onto a peculiar conversation. A trio of boys started chatting about something while wandering the aisles. Who did it before? I don't remember. I can do it. That solution did not satisfy Mr. Chu Lin. He grinned dramatically. You're probably the one who handled it last time. You don't remember that, remember? I know that much. Who was it before last time, me or you? Chu definitely jabbed a finger into Darren's shoulder. Baxter was out of the equation, for whatever that was. It's been a while since then. It could have been either of us. Refusing to accept that a solution so obvious, he could see it from a distance. Baxter offered another suggestion. Hey, we could play rock, paper, scissors. Though he knew what he was doing, every inch of Baxter's face and note of his voice expressed amusement. It wasn't only Autumn who was unimpressed then. Darren and Chu heaved sighs in unison, dipping their heads low before smiling playfully at one another. You know, that is a good idea. Isn't that right, Darren? Yeah, it'll sell this perfectly. The tallest of the group pulled himself even higher. Ready to test your luck, Autumn? Nah, I don't need luck. It's rock, paper, scissors. And then you heard something different. It was Tamarack speaking specifically to you, loud enough it could be heard halfway across the store. What are they talking about? Each boy in the club turned to stare back at her, and the person next to her, you. Darren stuck his hands into the pocket of his vest and did that thing where he retracted his neck inward, so he didn't have to face people all the way. We're figuring out whose turn it is to buy food. Instead of everyone buying a snack from themselves, our club takes turns having one person get all the supplies for the whole group to share. Why? Her big eyes were clear of any taunting. It honestly didn't make sense in Tamarack's mind. You pay a lot sometimes, or pay a little every time. It's not going to make it different. It's less boring. Oh. That simple line actually kind of convinced her of the concept. Once, Baxter's contribution was easily accepted. Tamarack didn't have any interest in teasing him, and Baxter might have been up to anything Baxter might have been up to didn't interest her beyond its face value. Right, this makes things fun. But or not, how much pocket money did those boys have? You can't even afford a single gumball. Good luck to you guys. Still don't need luck, but thanks. And it's okay if you and Tamarack want to eat from the pile too. We almost never finish it anyway. Thanks. I'll share my stuff too. Awesome. Chew breezily came back around to the original point. Let's get out of the way. He leaned his weight onto one foot, stuck out a hip, leveled a glance at his club. Winner gets to be the Snack King, and the Snack King has to pay. Darren and Baxter both nodded, though only one of them did, with any concern of the possibility. Darren was the warrior. Rock, paper, scissors. They don't even say rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Wow. The boys chanted the 3 words, bouncing their fists to the beat. On the final point, they each made their move. Chew and Darren had thrown down paper. Baxter was wrong. He was a sole loser. Which, in that case, was a win. He wouldn't have to buy the snacks. Okay, Baxter, get out. Fine. Baxter lifted his hands and feet, eyes closed. For a second, it seemed like he would take his bow without any smuggy business, except, that was nice of you. He had one last line given with a sneaky smirk. While you understood Baxter being snooty, you didn't get exactly how. Chew could only shake his head. I figured you should know, since you're going to be living here from now on. Baxter only uses rock. What? Tamarack went from dead silent to releasing a high-pitched yelp. The volume was enough to cover the entire store that time. Yep, he's never picked anything in his whole life. I'm pretty sure he hasn't, as long as I've known him, which is like 2 years. That's genius, right? His eyes squinted along the edge from the nervous smile that pulled at his lips. Baxter is kind of diabolical. But true distress soon colored Chew's face. He threw out his arms to physically get the emotions across. Doesn't it feel like cheating to beat him when you already know what he's gonna do? Me and Darren can almost never play paper when he's in a game. The kid in question merely smiled with a lift of his chin. He saw no reason to explain or defend his devious behavior. Despite basically doing nothing, or maybe because of that, Baxter earned himself a friendly shove from Chew. But this time was alright, because Baxter needed to be out of the game. This is a battle between me and Darren. Chew finished ribbing Baxter so he could sharpen his focus towards the real threat. It's on now. I'm ready. The two competitors faced one another for a final bout. For the real competition, the title of Snack King, and a whole lot of pocket change was on the line. The audience remained still as they prepared their weapons. And then it began. Rock, paper, scissors. On the word, Darren's fully gloved fingers split into scissors. Chew's partly gloved hand flattened to paper once more. No! The prongs of Darren's scissors instinctively curled inwards, but it was too late. No amount of regret could change the facts. Scissors beats paper. We have crowned a new Snack King. Chew managed to blurt out before doubling over with righteous laughter. Hooray! Thank you for the treat, Snack King. Nice one, Chew. Thank you. It's great to be just a normal kid. Dexter patted Darren's back in support. He'd offered to pay for the snacks at the very beginning, and Darren could have used Baxter's strategy against him. But Darren never took the easy way. Okay, I'll buy the snacks. Yeah, you will. Let's pick them out already. Sure, come on. With a surprisingly not cocky smile, Baxter stretched his arms all the way around Darren's shoulder. A pair of older boys walked ahead. Chew didn't follow. He waited for his friends to be a good throws down before twisting around towards you and Tamarack. Psst. He whispered through his teeth, beckoning you closer, all while glancing over his shoulder to keep watch. Tamarack took a hop forward, then looked back and forth. When the coast seemed clear, she leaned in to hear whatever message she was going to deliver. It wasn't super polite to talk behind your friends' backs, but you were willing to hear what it was actually about. I've got another secret for you. Darren doesn't like to play the same thing twice in a row. He doesn't usually go for Baxter's move either. So most of the time after a round with Baxter, his rocket, Darren ends up going for scissors. I could have left him off the hook too, but I thought it'd be nice for Darren to treat the new kids in town for a change, even if he's only doing it because he's a Snack King. Make sure to eat a lot of our stuff. He did for you, and also Tamarack, but it included you. Tamarack squished her hands over her mouth. You could still hear the thrilled squeal she made. Your and Tamarack's joy didn't go to Chew's head. There was nothing, apparently. He shrugged up his shoulders while his arms were folded. It's kind of funny. The game doesn't matter a lot, because they're so obvious. Oh well, I make a lot of decisions for the group anyway. Spoken like a true club leader. You understood more why he kept showing up in front of you with plans out of nowhere. That was his normal life. Maybe you can get snacks now. I decided it. She offered the suggestion sweetly. Technically, she had already had that idea a minute ago, but he grinned at the attempt. You both knew Tamarack was not somebody who left plans up to Chew. Those two rarely wanting to do the same thing wasn't always a bad thing, you guessed. That's good with me. Chew started off to join Darren and Baxter again. Tamarack stayed on the boys' club heels. She wouldn't be left behind, whether she needed to go shopping or not. There's nothing to do except let the boys browse. Eventually, everyone getting something had their choice, and the five of you had gathered at the back of the store. She was in high spirits over the conclusion. He picked out a bag of spicy cheese crunchy chips. Baxter chose sour gummies. The Snack King himself got some beef jerky. Darren marched straight to the counter and slapped down a $10 bill. He called to his club without turning around. Bring the stuff over, we've got to ring it up before I can buy it. Coming! Wow. Flashing that amount of cash was apparently unbelievable to Tamarack. She watched the exchange happen as though Darren was making food appear out of thin air. Maybe she couldn't have brought something even if she wanted to. Darren finished the purchase without any extra fuss. He got a big bag of treats and a little change, and gripped the both tightly in his hands. The exchange made you think of Mother. You remember her telling you about Oregon? When it was a sure thing you'd be moving there. She talked about how there was no sale tax. The price on the sticker was the real amount you'd pay. Most of the time. Your mother was funny and practical. Then the tax-free sale was done. Remember, Snack King also gets the honor of carrying the goods for us subjects. Darren securely hooked the bag under one arm, while stowing his coins in the pocket of his jeans. I know, Baxter. After a pit stop far more eventful than going shopping for snacks, sounded like it would be the crew of the kids left the corner store behind. We're going to the place now. She made the announcement as he took the head of the pack. Darren was so fluffed and excited to finally go into the special place. She didn't try to get in front of Chew, or it could have been because she didn't know where he was heading. Special place, special place. The big group surrounding you and the brimming sense of eagerness kept the full chill away. You continued down Main Street for a few blocks, but soon had to turn down a side road. Whatever the special place was, it took longer to get there than the town and your school. It was beyond Golden Grove. The farther you went, the more the forest took control of the land again. The well-made structures retreated amongst the vibrant leaves, becoming fewer and fewer in number. Actually, it was a similar-looking path to the one that led you into your neighborhood. Instead of opening into the hidden neighborhood, the road you had taken came across to the sun-bleaching parking lot. The only building left in sight was the diner. Oh, that's why it was so familiar to you. You hadn't been through the streets that were... You hadn't only been through streets that were similar. You'd gone down there exactly before, but in a car and at night. And now you were there again. On your own 2 feet. You had gone to the very outskirts of human civilization. The end of that being an old-fashioned and just plain old American food restaurant. In the entire giant lot, you had more fingers on one hand than there were cars parked. All 3 of the vehicles were clustered together in a single section out of the way. Gio took a few more steps forward, splitting off from the group gathered at the edge of the lot. There's a trail a little bit past here. It leads all the way up into the mountains. It was projected loud through the wide open space, and he raised his arms up with a sound. A wall of rustling branches in the distance framed the silhouette of Jude's back. The forest looked impossibly thick, that far from town. If you hadn't just been told there was a way through, you would have thought no one could go further. The Red Fox Ridge Trail. That's its name. Me and my brother and our mom and dad go hiking there sometimes. Jude twisted his head over one shoulder, showing the edge of a bright grin. There's biking trails too, though I'm not allowed to go ride them yet. I've got to be older. He flapped his thumb and rested his fingers up and down, each against each other, in a mocking imitation of his parents' past admonishment. It's too dangerous for a kid. What if you crash? What if no one found you? The mountain isn't a joke. Ironically, he was making a joke out of the not joke warning. Chu's yickety-yak hand puppet shifted into a single-arm shrug. At least we can walk. You have a brother? Lucky. Me? Darren asked with a high, questioning tone. He had not expected you to speak to him directly about anything. Exchanges to and from him were normally transferred between Jill and Baxter. Yes, Hugh. You're the one who has a brother, I guess. Oh, yeah. His name's Devon. I don't have any other siblings. Darren and Devon, the Murray brothers. Where was he? How come you've never seen the mystery Murray anywhere? Darren simply readjusted his grip on the snack sack, deciding his work answering you was done. Baxter, with his greater wisdom, filled you in on an important piece of information. Devon is 16. He's 16? Mm-hmm. That's why. Darren wasn't the same age as you. Chu said he was 12 when you met, but that still meant his big brother was 4 years older, not to mention nearly an adult. You might have been double digits in years, but Devon was in double digits school grading. Of course he wouldn't hang around kids like you. And wait, how old does that make your mom? Old. Unbelievable. She looked the youngest of the grown-ups you'd met in Golden Grove, but had a kid who was already old enough to drive a car. You've been fooled by the pigtail braids. Adults really were hard to figure out. Chu's eyes started to wonder. He slowly turned his head to look across the lot. You know, it's too bad Uncle probably isn't working. He does the late shift. We could have said hi, and maybe gone more free drinks. Wow, you have an uncle here? The concept was complete shock to Tamarack. Right, she wasn't there when you met Mr. Yusuf. She laughed over it. He's my uncle, the same way your Omi is my granny. He's not my real uncle. Kids he knows just get to call him that, like your Omi is everyone's granny. Oh! If he was here, we wouldn't have had a choice but to say hi. Uncle keeps a close eye on what happens in his turf. Nothing gets past him. He would have came out by now to talk to us himself. Jude followed around to face the four of you properly. He entered the spin by finally planting his foot on the ground. Attention wasn't entirely on him before. It was then. After gaining an attentive audience, Jude launched into a dramatic, according to him, tale. One time, a few papers from my notebook fell into the parking lot or something. I know that because it never happens when I was passing by a different time. Uncle called me over to give them back to me. That never happens. He stated that definitely insistently, only to immediately lighten up on the guarantee. Except from when around Cal and Tamarack. You two always make them appear out thin air. Darren and Baxter shed a look out of the corner of their eyes. She was much too distracted by his own storytelling to catch it. Darren's mouth tensed, Baxter's clogged up more. You had begun to wonder if Chu's friends were simply too nice or too nervous to point out how Chu lost his papers every other day. Those two must have seen it happen 100 times, and somehow Chu remained certain it was an impossibility. Maybe the other club members returned his notes in secret. Oh well. We don't have time for conversations today. Anyway, the finish line is right up ahead. He threw a rallying fist into the air. Chu was an inspiring leader. That was how the final stretch of your journey commenced. The dining table was left behind, and so was Golden Grove entirely. The road you followed had no sidewalk. There were only a thin rocky edge that separated the tarmac from the wilderness. Luckily, it was devoid of cars, as the parking lot had been. The only people passing through were a group of 5 kids. He wandered along until a patch of dirt opened out onto one side of the street. There was a tilted sign of fresh coat of dust declaring that this was the head of Red Fox Ridge Trail, 6.8 miles and 1,456 feet of elevation gain. You spied a narrow path cutting through bushes and tree trunks. It soon disappeared, past where you could see. The way it unfolded made a streak of pebbles feel playfully, like the red fox of the ridge had left it behind only a few minutes ago, and was daring you to chase after its route. Through here, Darren was suddenly in front of your eyes. It was a startling appearance to come after your imaginations. His spiky blonde hair and striking orange sweater was oddly fox-like. The red fox boy screwed up his face in confusion. Darren almost asked what that was about, but he didn't. He kept going. You ordered. There was no going back now. Advancing under the canopy dense enough to cover the entire sky, you made your way through the forest. Every inch closer to the spooky place made your heart pump harder. No one spoke during that trip, not Chew to explain anything, not Tamarack to ask when you'd been there. Past the sounds of footsteps, the snapping twigs, you could hear bubbling of water. It became more and more clear until the woods parted, smoothed away by an old stone bridge, as through the earth was wearing a barrette in its sleepy hair. A crumbling set of stairs led to a trickling stream down below. There's no mistaking it. This was the special thing. Tamarack sucked in a whistle of breath that did not let out. Her cheeks fully puffed, and she stamped her feet as if she was revving up an engine. And like that, she was gone. Tamarack shot ahead, leaping from step to step until she was frolicking in the little valley below. Ah, wait for us! She shouted after her, and then thought to move after her as well. He and Darren darted for the way down together. Though Chew took a shortcut by jumping off the stairs at the halfway point. Watch your step. Baxter whispered lightly to you. That was not a warning, because he was worried. It was a big kid's test to see if it'd shake your nerves. He danced down the stairwell right after without a care in the world. You stayed right in the middle and took the steps one by one. You reached the ground completely fine. Hey Darren, you can leave the bag near the stairs. We'll eat them later. Gio took huge strides down the slight hill, holding out his arms for balance. He joined up with Tamarack, who crouched by the water. Are there fish there? Or frogs? Maybe. I think I saw something moving in there before. But it's a great place, huh? Tamarack's rosy face went blank for a blink. Was it a great place? The anticipation had built up from all the joy, from the incredible realization of the answer burst forth in a grand cheer. Yes, it is a special thing. Give me a sec, I'm gonna go grab a snack. How wonderful. How disappointing. What was special about a bridge? Tamarack basked in the glow of her own excitement. That wasn't important to anyone else. And it didn't matter even a little. Then she sprang onto her rainbow-clad feet again. There was yet more to see. Climbing over the mossy stones and looking under them too, the group spread out to explore. The air cooled you through. You could feel its chill against the roof of your mouth and teeth, with every breath, like aftermath of eating a mint. It wasn't the only autumn season, and the wind rushing across the valley, though those two were parts of why. Being so close to water added a third layer to the unique type of cold you experienced at the special place. It was really land set apart from everything else. While clambering about, Tamarack imagined a fairy tale about a mysterious creature that lived under the bridge. She never set a foot there until that day, but it was certain she was an expert on its hidden history. That was exactly like her. Eventually, Tamarack made a different kind of explanation to the crowd. I'm gonna cross the bridge now. She had already begun inching that way. Yeah, check it out. I'll think about what to do while we're here. We could play a game or something. Chia, Baxter, and Darren stood as a unified front on that, come up with a plan, despite Chia doing all the talking. Okay, I'll come back later. You followed after her, wanting to stick together. Oh, you're coming. Alright, let's go see the bridge. The boys waved you off on your short trip. Tamarack skipped up the stairs and you climbed up them too. At the top, Tamarack strolled by your side. She was usually a speedy girl, but it was tough to stay with you. Tamarack could take it easy sometimes. Tamarack glanced at the trees clinging with thick roots to the hillside, and the carved blocks that created the path suspending you above the ground. Completely enchanted. From those fantastic stories and sparkling eyes, Tamarack might have believed there was real magic to be found here. You went to the opposite end and peered into the mountain path beyond, then looped around the way you'd come. Halfway on your second crossing, Tamarack paused to glance over the valley. Look at them, down there. So little. Tamarack was smiling softly over that, but then with no warning, her lips stretched into something mischievous. Tamarack's gaze had gone far away. She silently gripped the strap across her shoulder. When the idea finished coming to her mind, Tamarack got to action, started taking the bag off and dropping it on the bridge with a thud. Next, Tamarack crouched down to undo the front straps. What are you looking for? She giddily hee-heed. I have an idea. Tamarack rummaged around inside with both hands, and her tongue sticking out until... Got it! She yanked out a lumpy, bumpy something. You only got a glimpse before she was gone. And we're gonna just do some wonder. Oh, we can choose a background. Well, that's cool. It's all the places that we've been to so far. Wait, is there room on her? Or not? Doesn't look it. Okay. I'll do the fort. That's cool. Oh, I love that. Yeah, we could something do that. That's cool. I might do that at some point. I don't know. So, oh, why am I that? Oh, I like that. My friends. Okay, let's return to the game. Tamara rushed to the railing just about to tackle the stone wall. She darted her face over it. She needed to lean on her tiptoes to get that far. The vantage point was used to great effect as Tamarack let out a shout that echoed through the entire valley. Boys! Intrigued by what was happening, he approached the railing and glanced below. There was a very confused boys' club gathered in a bunch, looking straight up at you and Tamarack. They had moved from one side of the stream to the other at some point. Tamarack thrusted a closed fist over the side of the bridge. Between her fingers was a bag of cashews from before. She shook it about. Tamarack had a challenge. If I throw these cashews from up here, do you think you can catch them? Every eye and mouth in the audience popped open with a wide surprise. And then the crowd went wild. They reached their hands to the sky, shouting in union. Yeah! It was like seeing a nest of baby birds when their mom dangled dinner overhead. Tamarack chuckled again. She pulled from the edge pathway to settle on the balls of her feet. At a normal talking level, Tamarack spoke words for you. If they miss, the animals can eat it. It's just nuts. You can throw two, or you can go down now if you want to catch. You know it, moving closer to the edge. You were gonna throw two. No, this is the funniest part. I didn't bother catching last time either. Feeling kind of funny. Eating. The only annoying part about being a PNG tuber, having a mic near your mouth. So you might be able to hear me eating and see my character just talking when I do so. It's funny. Tamara pulled open the zip-sealed pouch of ammunition. She popped down on the edge between you and her. You'd have plenty to work with. Who knew packing a full size of cashews would come in handy for something like this? Tamara, you guessed. The leader of this new game sighted one single cashew at the top. She stretched it out over the drop again. In 2 fingers, Tamarack daintily dangled the first prize. Paper airplanes and now cashews. Tamarack certainly liked throwing things at people. Ready? Another unanimous clamor arose from the boys' club. Ready? The flick of her wrist, and no final warning. The nut sailed through the air. Players scrambled to be wherever the cashew was going to land. Went straight down, bounced against a stone and rolled away, never to be seen again. No one got close. The gang's desperate fever fizzled. Awkward glances were sent about field. That was just a test one. Use excuses amused the other kids, getting slight smiles to spread. But there was truth in it. The players had much better ideas of the landing zone. Maybe next time or the time after somebody would get something. Yep, here we go! Someone as enthusiastic as her wouldn't stick to that pace. It was the starting shot, after all. She shoved cashews into both her palms, then shimmied her arms back and forth over their heads. The nuts jiggled from her hold without pause, at least until she had to reload. The game was on. You sprinkled a stream of cashews, slow but constant. The frenzy reached new heights as everyone went in dizzying circles, stumbling over uneven ground and leaping for the goldenish colored medals. Baxter took the simplest method of catching stuff. He used his hands to catch the fallen snacks. Chu and Darren bent their necks to face the sky, in an attempt to sink a nut directly into their open mouths. You had been righter than you thought when you pictured them as chicks, so hoping for food before. The waves of cashews you and Tamarack sent down were unforgiving. It was more than the boys' club on their combined 32 toes. They'll need to double the amount to even try and keep up. In the heat of competition, you glimpsed at coming of a mistake. It happened faster than anything that could have been done to stop it. Julie and Darren slammed into each other directly. The impact brought both of them toppling over into Baxter. Even his eyes didn't save him. Baxter went down with the rest of the club. The trio landed into a heap as helplessly as cashews no one caught. The 2 boys rolled on their backs in the grass, holding their poor faces. The third was flat on his stomach, blinking in surprise. Chew! You called his name before you even realized you were doing. What if he wasn't okay? Tamara cupped her hands together, stopping any more cashews from falling. Are your heads okay? From youngest to oldest, the group started climbing to their feet again. They brushed off leaves and grass, a couple of cashews sticking pieces to their clothes. Baxter helpfully plucked the breeze off his buddy's backs so they couldn't reach. Chew inhaled deeply, tilted far back to drop his hood onto his shoulders, and responded to the concerns loud enough for all to hear. I'm good! The boys' club had a little talk afterwards. That part was too quiet for you to hear. Then, with Chew shooting off with a thumbs up, so things must have been a-okay. That was a relief. You didn't think you could have been happier to have him thumbs up at you. And so the event resumed, more carefully this time. Baxter caught another nut, then a good few more. His palm gradually filled with cashew chunks, which is not easy to pull off. But the unbelievable happened. One of the nuts dropped directly into Darren's gaping mouth. Darren was so surprised that something hit his tongue, so he coughed and spat the cashew out. That didn't diminish the glory of the feat. In fact, it only proved for sure that he had done it. You could make that out from the top of the bridge. All eyes were on Darren again, though for entirely different reasons than a moment ago. Meanwhile, his gaze had suddenly gone up to you. That note he caught was one of yours. You stuck your tongue out in response. Baxter and Chew crowded around the champ, slapping his shoulders and ruffling his hair. This was technically a competition against each other, but if one of them was triumphant, it was a victory for the entire club. Darren grinned at the attention, breathing hard from exhaustion. His cheeks and the spot where Chew's face had smacked into his chin were all red. Still, the bank wasn't empty. Tamarack didn't declare this was over yet. This would be the last hurrah. And despite the chaos below, you and Tamarack worked together in perfect rhythm. Soon the bag that had been so stuffed it could hardly close was left barren. Only a few broken bits and salt dust remained in the folds of the plastic. Tamarack brushed her hands together and made the call. "That's all the cashews!" That stamped out the excitement quicker than when the first nut hit the ground. She bent forward like a second bag of nuts. His head hung low, his arms dangled down in front of him. It couldn't have been more than exaggeration to show disappointment. You can make it out clearly, even from way out there. On the flip side, the mastermind of the event was lighter than air. It was great! Oh, and I'm distracted. What are you looking at me for, Mr. Bear? Hey? No, nothing for you. Tamarack blocked both her elbows on the stone railing. She propped her cheek in her palms. It made her wide smile squished, and it got her face messy with cashew crumbs. She didn't care about it either. Ah, I need to move my foot. Ouch. Tamarack rested there, giggling and tapping the back of her heels together. That wasn't until her attention was taken by one of the funny boys in the boys' club. "Hey, meet us at the stairs!" Chew stuck one arm towards the spot, used his other hand to cover his mouth. "We're gonna eat the other snacks." "Coming!" News of new activity made Tamarack bounce in celebration. She was energized for a bit, the next bit of fun. "Okay." Tamarack shoved the ransacked baggie into her top overall pocket, donned her bigger pack, and skipped across the bridge. She wouldn't let her, that was for sure. You returned to the world below the bridge with her. The treats at the ready, the entire group regathered on the steps, nestled into the hillside of the valley. 3 kids settled down, the shortest one at the highest point, going in size down in level from there. Tamarack had come from the top, so she didn't go too far towards the ground. Chew took the lead for his club and sat on the step directly under her. Darren was on the spot behind Chew. Baxter, however, only leaned his shoulder against the cobblestone wall. You sat on the exact same step as Chew. Chew generally let you join him on the mossy slab. You can sit together at school, but no one could stop you from doing it right here. Your seat was a little down, and a whole lot hard, but it was great to finally not be on your feet. You had walked through the entire town, explored this special place, and were standing during the entire cashews off the bridge game. Gio casually hung his legs over the side of the stairs. Darren pulled a knee up to his chest, while the other leg was dangling across the step. Resting across the step. Tamarack planted her feet on yours in Chew's spot. She bumped both of you playfully with her boots. I gotta say, Chu pointed a finger in the air, calling the latest meeting of his club, even though Tamarack and you still weren't members. You had a really good idea there, Tamarack. Smiling sweetly with her hands in her lap, Tamarack sincerely appreciated the praise. Thanks, Chu. However, Mr. Chu Lin might have initiated the discussion, but Tamarack brought it down to business. Just the winner. We're all winners. He offered the idea optimistically. Maybe hopefully was the better word. In the end, Chu was the only one who never managed again. Now, his hopes were flatly denied. Littering in the forest, and the soft hearts of ideas of not choosing a single winner were two things Tamarack couldn't stand by. Someone has to win, but what counts as winning? No, that's a tough call. Baxter had the most, but Darren did something pretty crazy. That should count for more than one catch. It's your game, Tamarack. Make up a point system. She crossed her arms and squeezed her knees together. Showed the serious effort she was putting into thinking. Tamarack sounded like a round nut waiting to be cracked. And what broke through was a fresh, devious smile, even more twisted than when she came up with the game to begin with. If you got anything with your mouth, it's more points than catching a lot with your hands. But it doesn't count if you spit it out. Clearly she's rigged the game against Darren. Darren's spine went racially straight in an instant, before scrunching down more than ever. He croaked defeatedly. Mrs. Gowan hit more ruffled than when he hacked the cashier. Baxter went. Darren's fuzzy white gloves were bored into harmless looking fists. He must have wanted to argue that his efforts should have counted for something. But he was unable to put those words together right to a girl's face. That had to be exactly why Tamarack made the rules unfair against him. Baxter chuckled under his breath. Clever. So the victor was crowned, and he gave his sure acceptance. Congrats to Baxter. Though Baxter acted as if he didn't care about Kara's tiny cashew crumb, he'd won or lost based on Tamarack's made-up rules that she decided on after the game was over already. Darren continued to pout in his note the whole while. Thankfully for him, he had a pal who never let things taste out for long. At least we can all agree who got last. Me. Gio shifted from angling for a no-win situation to comfortably accepting his status at the bottom row. That plan succeeded where his nut-catching strategies failed. It made Darren faintly smile. Gio gave a wink, not stopping there. You guys are taller. That gave you the edge, don't forget. There was laughter and light-hearted smiles, up and down. And along the steps, it was just one of those days where everything was funnier than it was frustrating no matter what. Okay, Snack King, enjoy your spoils. Snack King gets to pick first. There are many unknown rules and regulations for the status of Snack King. You are learning a lot. Gio loudly stretched open the handles of the bag, pouring its delicacies out for Darren. He took his beef jerky. That was the last thing needed to make him fully content again. Pass me the gummies. Baxter got his treat as requested, then she moved on to you. Cal? No, thank you. Okay. She secured his chips last before stuffing the corner bag into a crevice on his step. The group who planned the food detour easily settled into a snack-sharing semicircle. Baxter had bent over the stairs to be closer to the one sitting down. Midway was empty-handed, and none of them was limited to the trees they chose. Ju and Darren's gloves got completely coated in powdery snacks bits in record time. It was then Tamarack rejoined the conversation. She had been quietly sifting through her fully stocked messenger bag when Ju had been dividing up the treats. Here's what I got. And what she got was a yellowy rectangle the size of a large chocolate bar. Though that wasn't chocolate. The brightly colored block made Ju giggle. We're lucky you didn't chuck that big thing at us. Are you sure? It would have been easy to catch. I'm sure. I'm worried we're not catching anything. Darren can't help interrupting that back and forth with a dubious curiosity. What is it? They're cookies. You recognized them immediately. That was something you were very familiar with. Tamarack told the wrapper with gusto. Then she slid out the light tan couch cushion looking cookie. It was flat on the top and bottom, with dark brown filling in the center. There wasn't anything new or interesting. She could eat it if she wanted. You can have some. You should go ahead now. And I get to have more. She looked up at the latest good on the snack market. He scratched his cheek. Can I try your thing? Sure. Thank you. Tamarack passed the small selection of spongy cookie to Chew. I'd like to try a fig cookie. Another simple request came in before she'd finished pulling her fingers away from Chew. Tamarack took a second to yank off a corner and stuffing it into her mouth before nodding. She whittled the cookie away even before sharing with Baxter. He tossed it into his mouth just like that. Tamarack took another bite for herself. She chewed slowly, going unusually quiet for her. Only 1 inch of the square was left at the bar, then. Her snack almost got finished faster than any other. You take it. She hadn't said his name, but her eyes were set directly on Darren, 2 steps off. He didn't react. Apparently, you didn't address something, it wasn't there. Or he might not have realized she was talking to him. Darren had changed his stand position to take on the appearance of a folded chair. Not only were both his legs pulled up, but his arms were over his knees and his face lowered onto them. Gio gave the back of Darren's blonde head a nudge. Anyone home? Without a word, Darren tilted his neck, like he had during the game. Tamarack was already leaning over to dangle the last bit of cookie above his face. He carefully reached out and plucked the gift from Tamarack's hold, as if he was picking a real fig off the branch. It made sense in a way. Tamarack's name was a type of tree. Thanks. Darren held his fingers around his new cookie. He kept staring upwards at Tamarack. That had to be a record for the longest time he held eye contact with her. You can have a piece of jerky. Everyone can. Thank you. I don't want that. Oh! Before I get real awkward, Tamarack's attention sparkled on a different idea. It blanked out for Darren, though she hadn't done it to smooth over her bluntness. Tamarack was like that. She had a lot of energy. There was something else too. And something else too was a bare baggie of cashew dust taken out from her overalls. Seeing her bring that out now was more confusing than when she first pulled it from her bag on the bridge. Tamarack snickered at the loss she left the group at, and her own secret scheming. She pulled the scraps into her hand and returned the now completely empty bag into the pocket it came from. Tamarack shot one of the tiny pieces at Chew. Chew's defensive instincts kicked in, and he snatched it before it could hit his face. What was that about? You got one. A cashew nutter. Chew gave a lopsided smile and ate the little piece. Yes, I did. Thanks. You're fine without any snacks. The conversation took a turn when Chew chipped up with with a question. Ah. So what do you think? Of what? What else? Gave Tamarack a slick smile. Her attention was what he had been trying to grab at. The club. Oh. But she didn't say anything else. That was okay. Chew continued on himself. You're gonna see what it's like. It's pretty great, huh? You can start joining if you wanna. He looked away awkwardly. Chew had your answer. He must have since he saw it happen. And he didn't react by trying a new method to change your mind. He simply listened. Tamarack thought longer about the question than she had the first time she invited her. She gave it real consideration, but the answer wasn't any different. No thanks. At least mostly there had been development over the afternoon you'd experienced. Tamarack was quick to add in. I still like you, and I like playing with Baxter and Darren. Really? Thanks. You do? Chew's left and right hand boys were amazed. Baxter amused disbelief, and Darren in that he didn't have a single clue what to do. It was kind of the same for you. You liked Baxter more. Chew became a calming force on the little crowd, a steady rock against the wind of emotion, which was not unusual for him. You know, that's cool. I think it makes sense for you two. It's the Tamarack and Callaway. That was the end of that for the day, and maybe forever. She managed to be at peace with not having everyone he knew in his official club. So you were partly a club, and completely a group of kids hanging out on a bridge together. Gio took a turn trying to toss cheesy chips into Tamarack's mouth. She scored every time she missed and whipped whenever she didn't. Baxter rested along the wall, watching the game with semi-interest. He batted away the shots that misfired or bounced off Tamarack. Darren nipped at the last of Baxter's sour gummies. He was keeping score while Tamarack and Chew kept their heads fully in the game. It was kind of a picnic, except for there was no blanket or basket, and it was a lot colder than what you'd usually imagine for a picnic. You yawned, so sleepy after everything that happened. The snack tossing continued. 4. Oh wow, it's lucky I was throwing before. I would have gone all the cashews. What? It's way easier to catch stuff from here. I'm like a foot away. Yeah, but I still think I'm good. Tamarack cheered. There would be no compromising on that. Fine. Those two definitely did disagree on a lot of things, but it was equally certain they were friends in their own silly way. And they were your friends too. That day, across the town, into the treasure chest store, up a mountain, across a bridge, could only be described as an adventure, and you're going to remember it for a long time. And there's the end of that moment. One more moment to go, and then the preview. Yay! Perfect. It was another cloudy Saturday in Golden Grove, when the three kids reconvened in the middle of their cul-de-sac. The moment had come to fulfill the promise you made to go riding around the park together. Baxter and Darren were going to meet you partway there. Chu said so as soon as he showed up. And this time, you told your mother before leaving the house that you were going to be out of the neighborhood. She had given you a big hug and said to have fun, and thanked you for always keeping her up to date on your busy schedule. Chu narrowed his eyes and intensified the spark inside them, like a magnifying glass, directly a laser beam of sunlight. Or directing a laser beam of sunlight. The bridge in the forest was most amazing to Tamarack, but this was Chu's special thing. Let's go get our wheels. The three of you split off to your own house, along the curve of the cul-de-sac, each kid disappearing around a corner or through the front door. You got your roller skates and made it to the meeting spot without any problem. Tamarack and Chu weren't there. You were going to have to wait. Standing there with your skates in your arms and nothing else to do, you glanced over your ride. Your roller skates were a reliable set of wheels. You had them forever and they never let you down. For the helmet, Mother had gone you a completely normal shaped one. It was metallic. It was only a few minutes until three of you were together again, on the road, each with your wheels of choice. She rolled forward to be right between you and Tamarack, and to be the very center of attention. His bike was his pride and joy. He bragged about it basically as soon as you knew him, and finally the day had come where he was able to show it off. It was exactly as Chu described, black with silver splatters. The bike was polished to a reflective gleam that made the nicks and scratches it did have stand out. He used his wheels a lot, even though he'd taken care of it. Chu launched into a dynamic spiel of the qualities of the bike, listing off one feature after the other. His rides had great treads and a lot of gears and amazing suspension. I'm not sure if Chu knew why those things were good, but they sure were good. It did look bigger and sturdier than typical kids style, so you could get at any store. Typical kids style you get at any store. Helmet under Chu's arm was unique too. It was a serious dirt biking, with a face cover and everything. When Chu's explanation eventually ended, Tamarack chimed in to give her a ride introduction of her own. Hers was a whole lot shorter. Mine's really pretty, huh? You drummed her fingers against the handlebars. Chu's bike was so incredible, it must have been forged from the most powerful materials, whilst Tamarack's scooter looked like it came from Candyland. The main power was pastel pink with purple squishy handles, and purple not squishy wheels. There wasn't even a hint of dullness or want stuff anywhere. It would have looked brand new, except it was covered in tons of stickers. From top to bottom, rainbows, cutesy animals, and holographic hearts were pasted next to skulls, spires, danger signs that might have glowed in the dark. You had a hard time thinking she protected her scooter more than cherished than you cherished his bike. It's possible the stickers were the only thing she ever used. It's possible covering it in stickers were the only thing she ever used it for. Emmeric's helmet didn't have stickers. Maybe she decided it was cool enough already. The extra round shape had stripes of different colors. And oh yeah, huge rows of spikes, if you count those. She might have almost been as tall as Chief once. I'm thinking of Chew, he shivered at Tamarik's decked out scooter. He tried to talk in his normal voice. It wouldn't be very polite to voice how horrified he obviously was, but Chew couldn't handle it. They're never gonna be able to scrape that off. But I want all those stickers, they make it better. But they're gonna get old and fade and tear, then what? I'll add more. Tamarik could have answered to every question. But then, Gio closed his mouth. He must have thought the same thing you just did. Never mind. Your bike is cool, Chew. Just like you said it. Tamarik definitely noticed you said something about Chew's bike, but nothing about her scooter. She huffed. I still like mine. Yeah, my bike is the best. Chew's words came out extra eager. He'd been waiting for the praise to come in. That was when the attention went to what you brought. Tamarik and Chew silently scrutinized your roller skates. Wow, I wanted roller skates too, but I fell down so much in the store, I couldn't get them. They got me the scooter because it has handles. They are really tough. He gave his own seal of approval. He reached acceptance on the no bike agenda of the rest of his neighbors. Those would do you good enough. Then Jiro refocused on being in charge of this trip. Okay, no more messing around. Let's do that. Drew out the cul-de-sac kids, strapped on helmets. When I still can't get over the helmet. Not cool though. When Drew got his bulky helmet on, he gave the thing a smack on the side of his own head. He had to make sure it still worked, I guess. Tamarik tugged the tight chin strap, so practically fused with her face. It would not be budging no matter what happened. After that, you put on your skates. Done. Each one of you had something completely different to get you to the same place. You were looking forward to meeting up with Baxter again. A tiny expedition to put sneakers to pedals, shoes and skates to pavements, and you were on your way. Your neighborhood was behind you in a matter of seconds. The whole world was in front of you. With your wheels under you, you're free to go anywhere. Riding into town on the bumpy road up and down, side to side, made you think of 3 leaves being swept along by the flow of a river. Everyone giggled and oohed each time you tip over the hump of the hill. When gravity took over, Tamarik leaned up to the side and stuck her chest past the scooter bar to get a full blast of wind. Joe kicked up his legs and let the pedals spin completely out of control. They don't even look like they're riding anything, which is even funnier. You lowered yourself to catch some extra speed. You flew by a mix of houses and trees until there were no more forests or homes. What surrounded you were rows of business buildings. The massive arch declared this place's Golden Grove acted as the finish line for that leg of the journey. Everybody except you dismounted and the left helmets on. This wouldn't take long for one to cheer. Even so, he announced it if you best to wait somewhere else. The three of you moved to get out the street. Bikes and scooters and things like that could take someone far, but cars were unchallenged rules of the road. Everyone got themselves and their wheels onto the sidewalk. You officially arrived at the first milestone. The treasure chest shop was right down the side of the walk on the corner. I guess it's the one right next to the barber? I don't know. Well, you can even see the antiques. You still remember stocking up those supplies, rock, paper, scissors, and the trip to the special place in the forest. But you had other destinations ahead that day. You remained huddled near the front of the barber shop, waiting. Anytime some random person came by, it was a challenge to let them pass. Your rides took up a whole lot of space. But driven right, as soon as you heard the clicky zip of bike wheels coming closer, zooming down the side street were the missing members of Drew's Boys Club. Max's bike was a blinding bright white on the body. The chains and wheels and other mechanical stuff were black. He casually leaned back so one arm he used to hold the bike could stretch out fully. Darren's ride was electric blue with orangey yellowy reflectors strapped on the back and front. He lifted himself off the seat and stretched over the handlebars. The trio swapped their normal headgears with helmets. And the older boys looked kind of different in other ways, too. Baxter had always worn a sweater whenever you'd seen him. He chose to go without it for the bike ride. You weren't sure why. But Aaron, it took a bit longer to realize what had changed. He had taken off those black fuzzy gloves. You could imagine why Darren would do that. Gio whipped seeing them. He tried to wave and get closer, but keeping his bike steady didn't make it easy. The big thing did help make him easy to spot, though. Darren and Baxter came to a screeching stop in front of you before going over a curb and knocking in your group over like bowling pins. Hey! Hello. The whole set of them were decked out in smiles. After your first round together at the bridge, it had become easier for the older boys to be around Drew's neighbors. Baxter's attitude in particular had shifted. He wasn't even smirking. Hello! Tamarack's reaction was beyond being curious or bored. Like how she might greet any stranger who happened to cross her path. She didn't know these boys. It was nice, the way you could get to know somebody. The way things could change day by day. The tallest of those boys started to chat with his buddies. Those helmets are pretty cool. Darren nudged his uncharacteristically gloved hands in your and Tamarack's direction. I want something like those. Oh yeah, they're awesome. Definitely. The three of them gabbed about helmets and bikes themselves. Meanwhile, Tamarack ran her fingers along the sides of her spiky helmet and grinned. I need a fucking drink. Darren might not have said it to the girls, but he said it about them. That was something. Ashley didn't even have to pretend to be Darren to give the compliment. At some point, the topic of conversation became about the actual rides, rather than the safety gear. They don't have bikes. How are they going to keep up? Tamarack squinted her eyes, insulted by such questioning. Hey, scooters and skates are just as good as bikes. Darren couldn't meet her dark red gaze. He could only mumble out to one corner of his mouth. Not for going fast. Oh, clearly he hasn't seen roller skating competitions then. Before Tamara could disagree, again, only for Darren to say something else she didn't like, she laughed. Well, Darren, it's so nice of you to want to make sure nobody gets left behind, but you know. She slowly smiled while gradually getting higher on his toes until he was nearly eye level with Darren. I could ask the same question every time I ride with someone else, because no one is as fast as me. Gio cut his hands through the air like he was striking down an invisible force field of his opponents. Then he jabbed a hook finger into Darren's chest. Maybe the challenge was in pretend after all. But I don't ask it, and I have fun anyway. And so do other people. Alright? It's gonna be good. This time Darren whispered from the other side of his lips. Alright. That's fine with me too. They don't need to use bikes. Okay, good. I will bet she could do real damage if she went charging at someone. Like a rhinoceros because of the spikes. That's still cool though. And after spending the entire time giving his word and attention to you, Master spoke directly to you in camera. We're not gonna stop again before we reach the park. Yep, we're not sticking around this place. Brown Scooter Girl squeezed her swishy handles until the plastic morphed around her fingers. You're setting out again. She led the way past the main street and down multiple other streets you didn't know the names of. The boys club took every sudden turn and bend as easy as they could go in a circle, though they never left you and Tamarack behind. In fact, Tamarack stayed as close to them as possible, forcing blind determination to match their knowledge of exactly what they were doing. And eventually, the sky opened up in front of you. The buildings that blocked out were pushed aside to make room for a forest living directly inside of Golden Grove. If the main street was the heart of the town, this was the soul. You shot ahead straight through the entrance. The path was wide enough for 5 rides to spread out, from a cluster to a row. Orange and red and yellow fallen leaves covered the ground. They scattered in a whirlwind from the wheels that rushed over them like a cloud of monarch butterflies had taken to the skies. The wind whipped past your ears, carried a shower of exhilaration from you. Tamarack's scooter vibrated, going over whatever roads there were being made. It was buzzing. You raced like the wind, even more energized than when you started. Free from the obstacles of cars and tight sidewalks, the boys club pulled farther and farther ahead of Tamarack. A scooter with a single leg pushing you along couldn't match the speed of double-pedal bikes. Before Tamarack was actually left behind, Ju pulled out again. Break! One after the other, Ju, Darren, and Baxter slammed on their brakes, coming to dramatic stops. It was exactly what the other older boys had done when they first showed up. Tamarack jumped straight off her scooter. She clutched the handles and ran alongside her until she had gotten her steed to a halt. We're here, it's the park. You're the last to stop moving, doing it more slowly and carefully. Everyone climbed off their stuff except you, as you couldn't leap out of your skates, and then regrouped in an almost circle. Ju's boys were at his side, and they faced you and Tamarack. The club leader kept his bike upright with one arm, and had the other free so he could move it all around as he spoke. This is it. Welcome to Golden Grove Park. And that's its name. It isn't called anything else. There are other parks around, so Ju flicked his hand casually. You get the point, is what he was signaling out without words. You blinked. Alright then. I like it. But the normal forest is still best. And the special thing is most special. Tamarack added the last part decisively. There could not be any misunderstandings about what her rankings of good stuff. You two are tough to impress. Sorry, Golden Grove. Jay grasped his bike with both hands, ready to go again after only a few seconds. You might like it better once you see more. There are a couple of paths around here. One of them is this big loop through the entire park. We could ride down it that way. It doesn't take long. And would pass a cool gazebo on the other end. What are we gonna do after that? We'll see what happens when we get there. That plan got a mixed reaction. Baxter smirked ineffectively, which he would have done no matter what. He was sus. And Darren went back to his old way of being sour. She gave his friend a side-eye and a crooked smile. Again, he didn't need to say what he wanted to express. Come on, Darren, what's going on? Was the general message. Darren sucked in a breath, while his chin sunk low, as if the helmet was crushing his head. Came all the way to the park. We should race like we always do. His voice crackled like he always did when he felt a lot of emotions. It must have been a tradition important to the club, at least to one member of it. Sorry, Dan, we can't this time. Why not? Why? She tripped on Tamarack's question. To him, everyone should get why. So how are you gonna race on a scooter? I don't want to race. Exactly, that's what I'm saying. We don't have to. We're not racing today. You can race without me. What? You want us to do something that'll leave you out? You knew Tamarack sometimes went off by herself, but the idea of not getting to be a part of the main event was more horrifying to Chew than covering his beloved bike in stickers. Yeah, you boys club can do your boys club stuff. Chew opened his mouth to poise to disagree with the suggestion that he'd go off without her, and the implication she wasn't part of the club. But Tamarack was more forceful with her thoughts than Chew, and she kept going. You don't have to do what me and Callie do all the time. You wanted us to see the park, and we did. And we went to the special place together. We're still friends, even if we don't play together the whole day at the park. Darren was open-mouthed, stunned over Tamarack disagreeing blatantly with Chew. It still couldn't match how befuddled Chew was. I want to race. Chew said nothing, though a hint of a smile did return to his face. Darren's confidence grew. His chin wasn't hiding anymore. He lifted it. Tamarack continued to fight for a race. It was a tag team effort, and her turn had come around again. I'll cheer really loud when you go by so you won't forget I'm here. Then, to surprise everyone, one more speaker tossed in their 2 cents. The most mature and the fake accent. It's a good idea. I'm not a racer. Whenever we do, it's between you and Darren anyway. I'd rather watch. Huh. Jared had known that about his friend. It was a convincing point. J.A. Baxter's words counted as more than a couple of pennies since he was so rich. This had it all sent Mitchell for a spin. Like a bike wheel going out of control, but he planted his feet onto the pedals again. He was an expert at that. Alright. Club members and not yet club members. Club people have voted. We're gonna split up. Anyone who wants to race is with me and everyone else can do whatever they want. But, he paused, the momentum he had been building up himself with the lift of a finger, and she peeked at the group through a single eye. Let's go around the park together before we leave, okay? Okay. Cool. Tamarack grinned victoriously. She turned into a compromise at the very end. Tamarack considered it a win for her side. Darren managed a tiny smile over it, too. I'll still race with you and Darren. Okay. The deal was done. This was a 3-way race was happening. You had a lot of experience and a ton of skill with your wheels. Chew gave you an eager thumbs up, as if he didn't have to hold on. If he didn't have to hold on to his bike, it probably would have been too. Then Chew laid out how things were going to work, listing off points with a count of his fingers. You'd follow a side path going around the gazebo and taking the same route back to the start. It wouldn't be a full loop around the edge of the park, just a shorter route cut through the center. There was a reminder to stay away from each other, the grass and the pedestrians, though Chew needed 2 tries to say that word out loud. Trying not to crash into things was the idea. The race began on the word go. Got it? Got it. Got it! Speaking in a stiff official manner, Chew addressed the 2 non-racers. First from Tamarack, would you do the honor of counting down? Yes, I will. She can do it. Good luck. Tamarack was more pumped about the job than he was. He could let her have it. Cool. Surprised he didn't say, I don't need luck. Because he's allegedly the fastest on the bike. That's what he says anyway. She slapped the side of his helmet again and declared it was time. To your starting positions. Yeah, I'm so ready. The combative spirit possessed Darren for a second, and he cheered the wholeheartedly. But it soon left Darren was a little embarrassed by the declaration. The combatants lined up side by side. You and Darren climbed on their bikes, and you were already good to go. Tamarack stood close by, and her scarf from her neck, gripping it tight. 1, 2, 3. A pure moment of silence. Even Tamarack could show some patience for a dramatic effect. Go! She flung the cloth into the air like a flag. The race began with a whirl of spinning wheels and scattering of autumn leaves. The 3 of you were off in a blink. The rapid row you'd started in held steady at first anyway. You managed to ahead of the other 2. You glanced at the followers out of the corner of your eyes. And there he is on his bike. He wasn't messing around. Gio did the bike equivalent of putting the pedal to the metal, slamming all of his weight into forcing the bike forward. It closed the gap. This race wasn't decided just yet. Hey, may the best kid win. You're a good sport. Thanks for calling me the best. You and Gio wasn't messing around, having light-hearted race exchanges. Darren kept completely out of it. He wasn't wasting any breath. My dad's back. The end of the path approached rapidly. This was not an endurance race. It was a burst of pure speed. Cold wind whipped across your skin, hot blood pumped through your body. Hello.
Somebody's stolen my bloody laptop there. Jesus.
I'm streaming.
Look at it. I've come home and stolen my bloody laptop. Hey?
It was exhilaration. Your mother liked that word. And this had to be the feeling she was trying to explain. The turn around the gazebo split, the races apart more clearly than before. First you, then Ju, then lastly Darren. At that point, Darren fell behind. The older boy couldn't come back from it. Don't mind.
Yeah.
I want hugs. Just waiting for it to cool down a bit. Oh! Where's the bin bag? It was between you and Gio. He glanced across the road, rushing underneath both of you, grinning boldly. He wasn't slowing down, he was speeding up. Alright then, you pushed harder using every bit of strength in your legs. You and Gio, then Darren, reached the point in the path where Tamarack and Baxter chose to hang out. Now they're coming! Over the roar of the wind, Tamarack's cheers couldn't be heard. She flowed the extra long ends of her sweater sleeves. Tamarack kept her promise. Nobody could forget she was still there. Go Callie, go cheer! Baxter gave a respectful round of applause to each of the riders as they flew past, no matter what place they were in. Then those two were gone. Your legs burnt. Your sweaty fingers shook from clasping them into fists for too tight for too long. For the last yards of the race, it was like the two of you were the only people in the park. No, in the entire world. Each time you thought you had the lead, Drew would close in again, and any time he tried to break away, you refused to let him. Neither competitor would give in. But in a flash, it was over. You stopped on a dime in the entrance of the park. Autumn slammed on his brakes right behind you. The first time since this began, everything had stilled. Then Drew stamped the sole of his left sneaker onto the ground and tore his heavy helmet from his head, as if getting off the bike the fastest was certainly than your race. His head snapped towards you, but Autumn was speechless. It was only by little, 1 inch or possibly 2, but you had won. Ooh, what do I do? You bowed. Wow! You bounced in with enthusiasm. You never expected that. That reminded you more of Tamarack than Gio. He was thrilled about not being first. Gio outright beamed at you. It was as if getting a second for once was still a victory for him, in some sideways perspective. I'll win next time, definitely. So maybe it wasn't losing that made him happy. Gio liked having some real competition in town. He could enjoy the thought for now, but soon he'd learn there were no competition anymore. You were always going to win. Janko stood up behind you and Gio. His legs were kicked in the air, not bothering to pedal. His face twisted in confusion. Callie won? They did. Gio proclaimed it boldly, without hesitation, but for Darren that was a hard fact to swallow. Not only did he still lose to Gio, but the new kid on the block was even faster than that. Hell yeah, we're fast. Darren cracked a small smirk, dropping his feet on the concrete. I really lost. We can do it again sometime. What? Wait, did that mean you too? Definitely. That was the most fun race in years. I don't know if that was the most fun race. He mumbled into the collar of his vest, but didn't sink low enough to hide the corners of his mouth, perking up. It was a joke. Darren was trying to make a joke. That was different. And so it was him talking directly to you, not about you towards Gio Baxter. It was pretty cool. You're really cool on skates.
You enjoyed that, did you, Vicky? Right.
Have fun. Yep, laters. Well, if it's that big of a deal, I might be able to race against you again. Darren climbed up. That was enough conversation for him, at least with you. She dropped like a lifeline, rescuing you and Darren from awkward silence. The words weren't empty filler, though. His enthusiasm was real. You said it, Darren. There's no challenge too tough for you, is there, Calla? It makes sense that you beat me. Spending that afternoon together, having a race against him, made you think. You decided he could be your crush. Good for him. Something with how you looked at Chiu got a reaction from him. Maybe it was something about you in general. But he grinned in such a sweet way. It made breathing harder than any race could. Jamrock bounded over. She left her scooter in the grass and was entirely unrestrained. Baxter allegedly followed behind. His hands were in his pockets, his bike propped up against a bench. It kinda looked like a cute poodle got off her leash, and the fancy owner didn't care if she jumped on the visitors. That was amazing! You're amazing, Callie. She would have said that no matter what, you were positive. Jamrock was nice after all. This didn't end in disaster. She instantly hugged an arm around Darren. Of course it didn't. What did you expect? With his rider's attention elsewhere, Chu's bike slowly began to lean. Baxter silently pointed a finger at it. Chu leapt to stop it from falling over completely. The panic transferred to drew Chu directly into Darren. He instinctively reached past you, trying to try grabbing the precarious vehicle too. But that just caused his own bike to start slipping. But the two broke apart from the hug to rescue their bikes in the nick of time. Chu and Darren sighed in relief, while Baxter chuckled fondly at his friends. Something like that was probably what he expected. The group decided to make a full loop around the park. I love that it says you have to get back on your roller skates as if you had taken them off. You thought this was a perfect chance to go for a ride with someone else. Cal and Aaron, this is a victory lap for the three of us. We competed, and there's something to be proud of, no matter what place you got. Yeah. Jamrock and Baxter made eye contact with each other. Chu was only one thing, but Darren agreeing with such friendly on it, they could only imagine what they missed. You're on Chu's bike with them. Jamrock simply coasted on her scooter, not fighting to be at the front for a change. I can just imagine somebody wearing roller skates on a bike with someone else pedaling. That's just a very funny thought to me. You held on to Chu, letting yourself be carried ahead. Chu kept it steady, with his back straight and both hands on the handles. It was nothing like how he rode on his own. Baxter couldn't help but notice such properness. What a dedicated chauffeur. I don't know what a chauffeur is, Millionaire Man. Then how do you know it's a rich person thing? The Millionaire Man calmly quipped. It's a funny sounding word that you used. What else could it be? Jamrock tee-heed. Chu laughed and Baxter chuckled. Darren snickered and you sighed. It was another long day out with Chu's club and Tamarack. Despite your standpoint on that, the five of you had gone through a lot for the short time you'd lived there. You made it to the special place, and you went through the park. You got first place in a race, and you rained cashews down on the trio of boys. Tamarack and Chu were your friends. You hoped Baxter liked you. You could live with that. The mood had gone so different from the craziness of your first experience there. She didn't try to make people have fun. They already were. Tamarack wasn't eager to do something new because she was bored of this. Darren couldn't think of a point to complain about. and Baxter didn't make a fresh joke at this time. People were satisfied and a little sleepy. If it wasn't for the chill, if it wasn't chilly, maybe some of them would have nodded off, even though they were in the middle of riding their wheels. Back in front and all around, there was somebody you recognized. Every day, the people in this town weren't strangers, because you didn't know them. They were strange because you did know them, and you were stuck in it. Round and round, the whole set went through Golden Grove Park, for as long as your parents had allowed it. And finally, the Step 2 preview. Are you sure this demo includes a preview of Step 2? Parts of the preview will be arranged differently in the final game. Saves you make during the Step 2 preview will not be loadable in the final game version of the game. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes. Nothing was really much to change. Actually, let me change the hairstyle. There we go. Oh yeah, we can have nose rings now. We need to stand out, but I think blue's gonna be the best to stand out. Or red. We'll do blue. Oh, blue. Yeah, blue. We make it light. We'll stand out a ton. Other earrings. This one's gonna go on our right ear. And it's gonna be silver. Well, as silver as you can get. And nothing's new for that. Yeah. Yep. And this is Mother. I'm gonna stick with the bag. Welcome back to the tutorial. The childhood portion of our life now and forever demo has come to its end. You're heading into the grand land of teenhood. Before that happens, we need to note that Section 2 included in this build isn't nearly complete as the prior Step 1 scenes. What has been included was picked to give a general idea of the lead characters and status of life in Step 2. But it's not how this time period will start in the finished game. It skips ahead a bit to avoid spoiling certain elements, and to get to casual, everyday conversations with Chu and Tamarack sooner. The scenes that are provided in this preview are also going to be expanded later in development. And some parts will be taken out of these scenes and added to other events in Step 2's prologue, so it flows more naturally. We had to include a lot of setup in a limited section. We hope you enjoy this brief glimpse into growing up in Golden Grove. Full settled over Golden Grove once again. The storybook-esque depiction of autumn went to the very root of the forest and the heart of town, as the whole land glistened in its namesake color. It had been nearly 4 years to the day since you moved there, into the tan house with white picket fence, at the center of the cul-de-sac. The trees grew taller and thicker. Mother got a chair for the porch, and the mailbox had to be replaced after an incident. But not much other than that had changed for the outside of your home. One might say the building was worse for wear after nearly 1,500 extra days of weathering elements. But for how old it already was when you got there, that was nothing. Nothing for a house pushing 40 anyway. 4 years of your life was closing in on a third of your existence. And the first third you could scarcely remember, since you were a baby and a toddler for most of it. So it worked out that nearly half of the memories you'd made and kept there were from right here, in this neighborhood, in this town, in this house, in this neighborhood, and in this town. You had lived in this one place longer than anywhere. Oh yeah, there's a page 2. Yeah. And you couldn't wait to get out. You had more than enough mountain town for a century. But the odds weren't good that your mother would get a second once-in-a-lifetime offer to transfer to an entirely different city. So you're going to be stuck in the golden prison for another 4 years at least. You'd been down each path and road, seen every bush and tree, entered all the publicly accessible buildings hundreds of times. But that didn't mean the world was entirely static. There were shifts that rippled out and impacted your experience in small ways. The transition of seasons brought about an entirely different atmosphere. There are sights and sounds and feelings that could only happen during a few months, before they were gone for a year. Other familiarities were lost to time for good, and never come back. But instead of their absence, eventually became old in their own right. You knew the acorns were beginning to fall with the leaves, and that Bob's barber shop on Main Street closed 8 months ago, and that every day was a new rumor on what was going to replace it. Nothing concrete had been announced yet, but any day now for sure. Miss Bowman was stubbornly convinced there would be a restaurant, an Italian restaurant. The town needed one, though, she would insist. Yeah, that was less than what she thought. But what she thought would actually happen, more what she wished would come to be. The circumstances were never perfectly straightforward, as stuff was the same, and things that were different, or what you would be certain of, and what you were believing in. You could have a piece of your world that had been ever present, something that hadn't gone away for a moment. Yet right before your eyes, it could be stopped. What you had originally known. The example that came to mind that you had been imagining from the beginning was your left and right next door neighbors. Both Chu and Tamarack were the same people you had seen basically for every day for 4 years. No single one of those days you decided they weren't Tamarack or Chu anymore. Of course they were always literally who they were. But after everything they had learned and seen, and from the basic concept of getting older, the two were pulled into certain directions. Little by little, it couldn't be caught looking back a week or a month. Still, if you pause to remember them from your first meeting and compare them to who you expect to encounter that day, you could clearly see it starkly. They had changed. The first playmate, Miss Tamarack Bowman, had become lately a young lady. Her reckless romps through the woods shifted into quiet nature walks. The neat clothes she carefully selected wasn't suited for that kind of exploring anyway. And she was not okay with getting them full of holes like she was as a kid. She approached things in life with great delicacy, like she was living in a world of glass, or less whimsically as if she was walking on eggshells. Tamarack joined the music program during middle school, and had played cello ever since. A feat that required plenty of patience, and a ton of sitting around. But for all those new opinions and priorities, and decisions that didn't speak to any level of decisiveness on her part, it wasn't just the loss of pure wild abandon. Only someone too young to know better could have. Tamarack didn't have a shadow of certainty she used to. Some days, in a way, she could come across her almost 70-year-old grandparents, then a girl not even a quarter of their age. Then at other moments she'd lean into typical teenage priorities more than anyone else in her class, and neither seemed to make her particularly confident. What bits and picky were truly Tamarack? Maybe all of them, maybe none. Maybe she had managed to convince most people that there was a clear picture they could accept and understand as her. Probably because she didn't understand herself either. Or she didn't bring herself to commit to what she did know. So, 4 years on, and she'd yet to blend into the harmony of this close-knit community. If Tamarack was in a room, odds were good she'd at least acquaint one person there. Wherever she went, Miss Bowman carried herself with the presence of a visitor, never a regular. Starting from step 2, you can now manually set Chew and Tamarack's dynamic towards you, as well as your own dynamic with each of them. This includes newly available jealousy meter, which will always begin as not jealous and must be manually changed if you'd like to add those aspects to your playthrough. You can also choose one character to be best friends with. Only one person can be your best friend, but you can platonically be best friends while crushing on one another. Being best friends with one character signals you have a closer relationship to them, and the other character to them than the other character. It doesn't mean you can't be friends with or crushing on the other character though. You can change best friends over the years, or even have no best friend at all. It's all up to you. Best friends with her. So she is still contesting, praising, accepting. And obviously, we're both not jealous. I'm still deferring, unassuming, and accepting. But one thing was certain at least, she could count on you, and you could do the same with her. You didn't care what the town thought. Tamarack wasn't a nobody in your eyes. She was a little girl who threw a paper airplane at you the first time she ever caught sight of you. Tamarack and you went through being newcomers side by side. No matter how much the two of you grew up, your promise to be friends remained unbroken. Together you make it through whatever futures unknown you might face. Tamarack wasn't a neighbor or even a friend anymore. She was your best friend. Ironically, while the rest of the town had become less sure of her, you grew to trust her more and more. There was no bigger confidant in your life than Tamarack Foreman. She could say the same about you. You and her had somebody who had been there through whatever future unknowns you might face. Now, the second, the companion of your youth, makes Quiulin. They didn't introduce themselves like that to people anymore. Whether a person could spell their name or not wasn't their problem. If somebody didn't know that, then they didn't know you. And why should they care what a stranger believed of them? The only part of themselves they made sure to spell were their pronouns, they/them. She was born and raised in Golden Grove, a local through and through. And not merely any kid in town, they were the ones to take center stage, the one to reach out, or to make themselves ever present in the minds and hearts of the community. No matter what you said or did, each person they crossed paths would be familiar with them, as the gender they were assigned at birth. Autumn wasn't sure about what identity they identified with, but they could definitely say definitively it wasn't that. If they wanted to be free of that misconception, she had no other choice than to keep explaining again and again, person to person. They hated her. So then get a badge or a pin that just says they/them. Makes sense. Going around introducing themselves in a way so people wouldn't immediately get it, could still put things was cute and everything when they were in elementary school. As a 9th grader, it was embarrassing. A lot of what Autumn believed as a kid seemed to just be that now. Kid stuff. And at the tippy toe of the list of childish ideals was the very concept of trying. She stopped putting in effort with their class. They started skipping ballet lessons. and they did not go out their way to make others feel welcome. No, they rebuffed nearly anyone who dared to wish for time in their presence. If you didn't like someone, zero opportunities would be given for that opinion to change. Despite going from the most approachable face in town to completely unavailable, Chu remained exceedingly popular in school. The chill that overtook their demeanor made them cooler, apparently. Yeah, we're still crushes. Teamwork, teasing, dotting, not jealous over. Kind of envious. But that drama was nothing to you. If you didn't want to go above and beyond to be friends with everyone in the world, then they shouldn't have to. They could be snippier, they could be more sarcastic, so what? She meant a lot to you. They always had, ever since you were 10. What made you feel like you mattered from the start, and that hadn't faded, even when they closed themselves off to people more and more. You'd done what you could to be something beyond a fair weather acquaintance for them, and those were thoughts you kept deep inside. It wasn't anything you had actually expressed to you. You definitely felt the same way. You and them were buds to the end. It wasn't something to talk or think about more deeply. Well, what do we do? Well, the differences with your friends, the more noticeable was the fact that you hadn't changed one bit. You were the... Oh, wait, no. The differences with your friends were easier to grasp, considering how you changed too. You used to be such a rule follower, now you were the opposite. And you were more silent now. And you acted quite proper, like always. Typically, you were... I don't know what most of this means. Mellow around Chu and mellow around Tamarack. You're pretty shy in general. You still went by Cal among friends instead of Callie. But your mother only ever called you Callie. She always called you Cal. But Tamarack only ever called you Callie. It just seems like a Tamarack thing. Anyways, that's sinking further into place of your psyche than you should be going. You decided to shaking yourself out of the days. You had other kind of things to be focused on at the moment. It was early morning on a school day. You had finished getting changed in your room and stepped quietly down the stairs. Then you had crossed the creaky boards where the lighter floor panels switched to the darker wood. You had officially entered the front room. The place you lived was sort of the third member of the Wolf family. It had its own ways of being and long-time quirks, while still taking after the parent and sibling it received. In the time you lived there, you'd added your own few nicks and scratches to the house. Some of the old furniture replaced with brand new old furniture from the local antiques store and the thrift shop. The vase on the table was from the former, and the lamp was found at the latter. She said you couldn't tell the difference between what was sold in those places. It was ancient either way. However, the gap between quality between the two was easy for you to see. You were alone in the living room, and the entire house. Mother had left to work long before then, right after you'd eaten breakfast. She had a longer commute than you, and you didn't need your mother to be late in order to see you off to school, though she would have been tardy if you wanted to head there. Thinking of her, you felt she was your friend as much as a parent. Hanging out with Mother was fun. You and her were still the wolf duo, taking life on as a team. In fact, That had only gone true as time went by. Since you had gone old enough to be more of an actual help to her, it was cool. And naturally, before Mother walked out the door, she hadn't forgotten to give her annual reminder. There's only one first day per year. Enjoy it. You giggled over Mother's typical motherness, while letting that little fact of reality sink in. It wasn't any normal day of school. It was the first day. And it wasn't a normal start of the year, either. This was ninth grade. You were a high school freshman. Whether impressed upon what an accomplishment it was. If the learning system was a triathlon, you were out of the water, off a bike, and lining up to be in the race. Mother wasn't especially sporty herself, so she offered an alternative. That if this was a movie or a book, the third act would be just the beginning. That was the best part. For as much Mother hyped it up to be, your transition to the highest level of public schools wasn't as immense as it was for other 14-year-olds. You had been attending Riverview Peaks in 6th grade already, with its gold, black, and navy official colors, and beloved freshwater otter mascot. The district of Golden Grove was small enough that middle school and high school shared a building. Not as if it mattered either way. Going to school, any school, was miserable. You used your ride together. Your choice of wheels were roller skates. They weren't the same roller skates you came to town with. You had long outgrown the original. But it was the only kind of ride you wanted to use, so you got another pair that was right for your size. Even though your roller skates didn't have handles. You'd find you the first thing. You wanted to go together, and they wouldn't leave without you. It would be up to you to invite them. She might have been waiting for you to ask, but it was your job to find them. That was how it worked. You packed up a lunch, closed your bag, and slipped over your shoulders. Actually, wait, I want to change my thing. You'd find Tamarack and Chew first thing. You wanted the group together, and they wouldn't leave without you. Because first day of the year, might as well go as a group, if possible. It'd be up to you. Chew only went out their way to go with you, if you were the one who asked them. And Tamarack sometimes liked to walk by herself, but for the first day, you were sure you could get all of you together for the trip. Yeah, that's what I mean. Go as a trio. Little tradition. You packed a lunch and closed your bag and slipped it on over your shoulders. Then, with skates in hand, you braced yourself for the freezing autumn dawn. And you were instantly slapped by a howling rush of wind. They got into the exposed slivers of your skin with what seemed to be heat-seeking precision. Sputtering and coughing, you fought to get out the door that was shaking from the same gust that locked behind you. Mother had honored you with a key on your 12th birthday. When you felt the telltale click, you backed away. Your nostrils filled with the distant scent of rain when you crossed over the stone path. Had I come and gone when you were sleeping, or was it still gathering the weight and needed to fall? It was impossible to tell. You pushed open the gate, separating your yard from the neighborhood at large. As soon as you placed a foot into the cul-de-sac, you were hit with a bigger shock to the system than a chilling breeze. Tamarack popped out from behind the bushy border of your house, like it was only 4 years ago, and you were meeting her for the very first time. The main flaw with that comparison was that she hadn't done it on purpose. Callie? It should have been impossible for the jump scare to style someone more like you, but there Tamarack was. Her eyes wide, her arms taut to her sides. Though it was definitely Tamarack Gorman, you also knew her by nickname. Very but few people got to do that. The nickname was Tammy. I didn't notice you come out until I heard the gate. It would have been more awkward if you caught me trying to hide in a bush, so I had to, surprise. Sorry. Come on, Tammy, it's not that embarrassing, you said encouragingly. Only because you called me. What if it was your mother or you? They wouldn't have teased you either. Maybe not to my face. Reacting completely casually to her, floundering could have gone two ways. Diffusing the awkwardness or making the dynamic going there even weirder. Tamara wrinkled her nose at you, seeing the humor in the situation less awkward than it was. You gave her a friendly grin. While you may not have been thrilled about where you lived, that didn't mean there was nothing good about it. Tamara Millman couldn't be described as anything other than a good thing. Unless you say she was an amazing person, which was true. It went quiet then for a second too long to be normal. A frog. There's a frog right here under the hedge. Her arms remained glued to her torso, but she pointed a finger towards the ground. It's so close to the road, I wanted to make sure it wouldn't die or anything. A lot of frogs have declining populations. You're serious? Let me see. I can't stop you. It's your bush, and that's not my frog. She added that with a brightness to her voice. It rang with a note of challenge. Not needing to be told twice, you went around to the side of the house and took Tamarac's place in the bush. You lowered yourself carefully to the grass, not letting your clothes snag on anything. Tamarack stayed behind you, but leaned her face towards the branches, pressing her palms over her legging-clad knees. She could manage to take a second peek. Yeah, look, it's frog. Oh, I need to get a picture. The bird will get it. I don't know if bird's in the stream, so I'm gonna send her a picture of it. There, it was that. Exactly as promised. Big eyes, wet skin, long legs. A frog. Oh shit. God damn it. This is great, look at it. Yeah, it is pretty cute. This is a nice moment to share with her. You have to thank the frog for bringing you both a bit of joy. You two gawking giants tested the last of the frog's patience at that point. After one mere croak, the speckled brown creature hopped away. Luckily, it inches further to the forest rather than the stream. Tamarack was satisfied. The declining population wouldn't take another hit today. You and her straightened yourselves up after a very successful frog viewing. Tamarack scrambled away, nearly falling over in the process. She couldn't have run faster if she'd been the one under an unknown giant's inspection. Sorry if I was way too close. You straightened yourself up, holding her stunned stare. It's really alright, Tammy. Okay, yeah, sure. A steady exhale left Tamarack's mouth. She grasped at regaining some kind of composure. The even breathing lasted just long enough for her to inhale one more time. Then Tamarack twisted her torso and headed in the opposite direction to check her back, switching between glances over the left and right in a cycle. She had to double check that she didn't get dirty. Do I look okay? Tamarack, you're perfect. You didn't have to say it like that, but thanks. Then you raised your arms, gesturing for a casual hug. Oh, of course. She leaned in. As you leaned in, she did the same. You outstretched started each other in a cozy knot. Tamarack's hold was soft and sweet, just like her. She wrote you both back and forth. That made you giggle. When it was over, Tamarack was grinning wide. Ever since Tamarack had those braces put on, she almost never smiled with her teeth. You knew how self-conscious she was about them. That rule went away when it was safely just you and her. Happy first day of school! It was a joke with no humor. She didn't believe that sentiment, neither did you. It brought a faint smile to your face. Well, no matter what, there's only one first day of school. Well, actually, wait, no, I just had another realization. I'm going to die if we don't have any classes together. Me too. We could share our funerals instead. You and Tammy even a pair. Oh, ever the pair. You shared a weary chuckle before the misery overtook. Your demeanor once more. Tamarack found a second wind for the doom spiraling. I don't even know my teachers yet. What if we get someone terrible? We'll have to survive somehow. Did having someone to share the misery with make it easier or only spread it around? It was hard to tell when things were already awful. Were as awful as they already were. Still, Tamarack was going to be there for the start of a new year. You could count on it. You can't help but pause there and acknowledge how wonderful that Tamarack was still there. Living with her Omi and Opa was meant to be temporary. It had nearly been half a decade. Her parents did keep in touch, and they visited, sometimes more, sometimes less. The inconsistency meant there were never a sense of normalcy around them, no matter how many months went by. As soon as things were calm enough, you thought Tamarack was going to be in gold and grow forever. Parents would become so re-involved, it was like they were packing her bags any day. You lived with that thorn stuck in your chest, one that dug deeper with every passing season, no matter what, and every so often got jabbed by the unexpected. Maybe that had to do with why Tamarack came across like an outsider. People were holding their breath around her, bracing for when it wouldn't be a false alarm, for when she would be gone. And you knew for sure that Tamarack struggled with seeing her own presence in that light. She told you about it. How much longer would Tamarack Borman be living right next door? No, you stopped that line of thinking right there. You didn't want to make the day even worse than school already would. Are we walking together? I wanted to ask. That's what I was actually coming over. Before everything with the frog and us talking and all that. Duh, I would have been pissed if you left without me, you laughed. Great. Having you by her side was everything she needed to enter the lion's den that was high school. Except Tamarack's gaze began to wander past you, past your house, towards the red building beyond it. You inviting Chew? They would come if you were the one asking. Chew likes you. And it'd be kind of like the old days. How crazy would it be if all three of us went to school together again? I can't remember the last time we did, but the voice faded into nothing. Whatever she wanted to express never came through. Despite Tamarack's quieter demeanor, it didn't make it easy for you to get away with things. That hadn't changed. She was more willing to take the lead, whether you were ready to follow or not. When it came to her, the neighbor, though, Tamarack flipped back and forth. Sometimes she didn't even want to try to vocalize her thoughts around them. Other days she was extra stubborn, making her preferences perfectly known to Chew. That morning, it seemed she was going with the give up before making an attempt strategy. Of course you've got to invite them, it's still tradition. Yeah, okay. We're doing it. But we better hurry, I don't want to be late. Yeah. June wasn't going to spring out from the foliage anytime soon, but you did have an idea where they might be hiding. You and Tammy cut through the grassy aisle between your house and the Lynn's. It was the shortest path where you needed to be. The full group had to be reunited before beginning the trip to school. You easily broke into your friend's fenceless backyard. Tu's old hideout stood tall amongst the actual trees that backed it. It was creakier than it used to be, and were more likely to wind up with a splinter by climbing on it, but the vault hadn't been abandoned. Though something around it had definitely been discarded. Lying carelessly in a pile of leaves underneath the tower, you could spot a black and yellow gym bag. The bandana was tied in a knot around the strap. And on the top level of the structure lay the bag's owner, in as much of a heap. Chu was holed away in the child's play place. They could barely fit in. From knee down, their legs hung lifelessly out of the entry hole. Their dark grey jeans and matching colored sneakers made it look like a sheet of dark rain was pouring over the edge. Some people still called them Autumn, including you, though you had your own nickname for them too. Fucking Sweetie. It was Sweetie. You and Tamara shared a side-eyed glance, then simultaneously you moved your silent stares to the motionless lump once more. You approached the tower and tugged on the rope, poised to climb if needs be. The slack rope tightened from your pull. It was subtle, but there was no denying you were there, and you were close. No one's home. Tamara settled her hands on her hips with a sigh, rather than being dissuaded by Chu's own stubbornness was feeding into hers. Yeah, that was basically what you'd been expecting. Clearly, Chu needed further convincing. Forget it, Dammy, we can go without them, you winked. She lifted their head, unable to completely dismiss such threat. Your arms were folded. Your features stoic. You pretended that this was serious. They instantly cut off the energy they expected to raise their head. It dropped down with a dull thud. Then a long, low grumble drifted from the top of the tower. This wasn't going to go their way, no matter what. Who allowed you people on my property? I don't need permission for this. Will you quit it? I'm not gonna let any of us be late on the first day of school. Things were getting desperate. Then the clock was ticking. Chu, you're going to get off that. When all else failed, she had one option at her disposal: throwing things. Tamara picked up an acorn, tossed it to Chu's vulnerable legs. It made contact, bouncing weakly off their left calf. This was assault purely in the goal of annoyance, and it did bother Chu. It did. Words can't go in one fluent way. And what is it with you and throwing crap? It works. She was already poised with a fresh twig in hand, daring Chu to give her a reason to toss it. In that moment, Tamarack had become fearless. She would not hesitate. There's a lot of stuff down here. I won't run out of ammo for 100 years. Your end school will be over by then. That's all you're gonna say? Bite you? Alright, I'm going! They were serious. Hooray! It wasn't so strange, either. Chu didn't want to go to school, obviously, but they also didn't want to keep ignoring the neighbors. That was unlike them. Kind of. If some other random classmate showed up, they would have pretended not to hear them for all eternity. Except, Chu didn't climb down. Jumping also wasn't their choice. They sort of just let their body slip forward inch by inch until gravity took over, and they plummeted out the doorless entryway. Autumn's feet hit the ground first. There was no attempt to catch the weight of their own body. Their knees bent, their torso curled, and they landed in a ball. A rim of white fox fur hid their downturned face. The hood was up. Notebook pages fluttered through the air. Chu's method of descent had carelessly dragged the papers down with them. They had already been discarded over the floor of the fort. Then, when each one came to rest on the ground around them, Chu slowly unfurled. In the same motion, they tugged off their hood. They stood with perfect poise, simply to show they could. It reminded you of a video you once seen, a time-lapse of a flower going from a seed to sprouting a stem, and finally having its petals bloom in a matter of seconds. Despite their usual flopping around, Chu couldn't help showing off all their poise from being such a talented ballet dancer. But you had gotten your first clear look on their face the whole day. Having an aloof expression directed you away was another positive. You could point to about the place you lived in. Autumn was one of your favorite people. They lifted their hand vaguely towards the sky, closing their eyes. I am here. You are aware that's adorable, right? Now turn crispier than the breeze, she responded. Well, you're the expert on being cute, so I can't deny it. She dropped their hands to the sides. They were only willing to put in the energy to quirk their lips into a faint smirk. There was a focus in their dark iris. They went past, casually looking in the general direction. She was staring at you. You've been staring at them too, you suddenly realized. You held up an arm, showing you're open to a hug. She cloaked her offer and smiled wide and leisurely. Slowly they lifted onto their tiptoes, and gradually they began to lean forward. Oh no. Then Gio promptly toppled over into your awaiting embrace. Oof. You caught the full weight of the ragdoll suddenly in your care, gripping tight around their narrow frame. Chio's arms dangled idly instead of hugging back. Having their entire body pressing into yours was more than enough to bring them close. They rested their chest and cheek against your shoulder. You could support Chu just fine, they weren't big. Soon Autumn shrugged themselves off, the same way they might have done with their oversized jacket, except you had been the one wearing them. Jamrak chimed in with a strange noise. Unintentionally, she wound up a bit of a third wheel in the wake of mostly Chu's antics. Kelly and I are going to school together. You can come too if you go now. While she might have begun uneasily, Jamrak found her footing by the end. There was no doubt in her mind she would accept. She could give an ultimatum. Though considering what happened a second ago, she had a solid base of evidence for her theory. Chu's typical blank stare met Tamrak's for a bold one. Leaning their weight onto one foot, they popped out a hip to the side. It's not like I would have said no. Wow. Chu had their jokes. It was done. Tamrak could breathe a sigh of relief. She acted tough because you were there. Having someone she trusted on her side was a confidence booster. But Chu was Autumn, frosty and untouchable. You had to brace yourself for it, or build up the tolerance. And Tamrak was far more sensitive to the cold than she had been as a kid. So that was the status quo on Acorn Road, Origin, USA. Distance, uncertainty, and tension. Tamarack Bowman and Julin were the same age. They went to the same school, they lived on the same street, and they had the same favorite season, fall. But they had different personalities, different interests, different priorities, different social circles. Well, besides you. An unspoken shift happened between them as Ju and Tamarack changed themselves. It was something only felt, only silently acknowledged in your own mind. Ju and Tamarack weren't friends. It had been years since either of them called the other that. The only time they attempted to spend time together were the odd occasions, like the first day of school, for example. You can't pretend it wasn't true, regardless of it had been right in your face. The cul-de-sac kids, first friend group you had ever made, and Golden Grove had broken up. It was weird, for sure. The way their entire friendship disappeared and nobody even talked about it. But life just kept going all the time. There was never a specific moment when it made sense to say, hey, I noticed you're not buddies with that other neighbor anymore. Especially because you knew both of them well enough to understand why it was that way. Maybe one day you would talk about the bond you used to have. And even if you didn't, they could never be strangers. All of you were always neighbors. If the worst came to worst, they'll be there for one another. And for you too. Without another word, Chu trudged around the support beams of the fort to fetch their stuff. They didn't so much glance at the papers their movements kicked about, much less pause to pick them up. The familiar scent of earth tickled your nose when Chu dug the gym bag out of a pile of leaves. The scent of forest expeditions, treasure hunting, hide and seek. Nothing related to today's plans. Chu simply slung the pack across their back, then returned to the front. Again, the pages were ignored. As a kid, Chu earnestly never noticed when they lost something. As a teacher, that had become a selective ignorance. The quirk that was once a point of friction between the former friends, gripping the strap of her bag, Tamarack took on a thankless task of pointing it out. Chu had already done the unusual by agreeing to walk with her to school. Maybe she thought she had more luck today. Do you have the papers? I dropped them. You've seen it all before, you'll see it again. Yeah, but it looks like a lot of random those ones. But they're important reminders, you should keep them. She passed by, physically dismissing her words. The papers reminding me of something go away. Then me remembering it wasn't meant to be. I released myself from the burden of fighting against fate. Be free, my children. They added while flipping backwards to flare their fingers in front of Tamarack's face. She turned her cheek to them with serious side-eye. More like Violetta, she hissed. Tamarack hissed. It was the last of the one-sided conversation. She wouldn't try to reason with that logic. It all seemed pointless. It seemed that way probably because it was. She wasn't going to be moved by any argument Tamarack made. You knew it. She knew it. She knew it. They concluded months ago that they'd spent enough of their life gathering lost pages already. You went to grab Chu's notes. It was something you were happy to do for them. Carefully you plucked each and every page. Not one got a wrinkle. Naturally, in times like those, you thought your first meeting with Chu. You helped them pick up pages then too. Only Chu insisted they never lose things. Yeah, they'd given up trying to sell that one. You stood, turned, and stalled. Chu's face was pointed away, looking down towards their house. They had their right hand on their hip, and the left was lifted. Their palm was open, waiting for you to return the papers into it. You hadn't even said anything yet. In a big showing motion, they flipped the ends of their hair. Juice swept their face towards you. They were smiling, extremely smugly. However, it couldn't qualify as a true smirk. There was too much earnest affection behind it. Rather than carelessness, it spoke of a level of trust. You were willing to go out of your way for Chu, and they were willing to accept that. It was something you'd come to understand about Chu's life. how much of a difference it made not to be bogged down by reminders you couldn't properly keep a hold on. What could seem like a minor inconvenience to an outsider was a constant struggle for them. It was why you never had and would never stop helping out, no matter how many times you had to. Juice took the stack from your hands. Thanks, Cal. Now it was done. Let's get out of here. She was not getting their bike then. But they never did like pushing the bike around, or even going at a leisurely pace. It wasn't worth it to them with Tamarack walking. When you reached the front of the cul-de-sac, Tamarack and Chew waited for you to sit on the curb and put on the skates. Then you took Tammy and Autumn's hands in yours. Huh? It was a bold choice, and that was for sure. The shock and awe in their faces made it perfectly clear. Tamarack's warmth managed to come through, even in freezing weather. Chew's palm was icy. They must have been out in the cold for a long time. And yes, it was massively precarious, balancing on skates while holding on to two people. But it was worth the chance of falling over. Tamarack smiled awkwardly, though the gesture of your affectionate attitude. Chew passed their lips, being attached to Tamarack through you. You forced the lingering discomfort between your neighbors. But you weren't willing to go forward directly. Both of them were important. And it wasn't only because of your own feelings. You couldn't believe Chew and Tamarack hated one another, or even they wanted things to be uneasy in the cul-de-sac as they were. If one of you could help bring together the others, it was up to that person to do it. You held on to Tamarack's hand and Chew's chilly one. Then that was that. Together, you left the old neighborhood behind. Your first day as a high schooler was looming on the horizon. And that is the demo. The end of the demo. We have finally completed it. After several hours of doing so. I did decide on this playthrough to switch up how I did step 2. Just a smidge. Since I kind of ditched Tamarack in my personal one, I thought I would make it up, myself at least, by taking them both with me. Since we will forever be friends, even if they hate each other. I do really like this game, personally. And I definitely think it's worth that you guys also play it as well. Especially the first Our Life game. That one is like my favorite so far, but it might change with time because obviously we've got the demo here for us to. Sorry. My words aren't conveying the way I want to convey them. We currently only have the demo for Our Life 2, or Our Life Now and Forever. But I'm sure when that game is fully released in, I think, 2025? Not entirely fully sure. I might like it more than Our Life Beginnings and Always. But I won't be playing Our Life Now and Forever until I finish Our Life Beginnings and Always with the demos. I'm going to make sure I get the rest of the demos for Our Life. Specifically, Baxter and whoever the other kid was. Who was it? Who was it? I only remember Baxter. I just did film. That wasn't the right pin, you dimwit. It's being evil to me. How rude. Okay, there we go. Our life. Derek. I'm gonna get Derek and Baxter's story to go alongside the rest of step 1 and then for step 2 and 3. So that's gonna be fun to do, at least. So yeah, I do highly recommend checking out Our Life, beginning and always, and Now and Forever, even just the demo version of it. They are like really cool games. Um, so yeah, maybe, who knows? Maybe I will finish Our Life Begins and Always before the other one comes out, but I can't say for certain since I'm going at a 3 a week schedule, and I have other games that I'm planning on doing. I will say most of October is just Our Life, from what I'm looking at with my schedule. I don't have the schedule pulled up right now. Oh wait, no, it might have been. Is it September? No, this is September right now. It is Our Life in October. Yeah, because we go at the second. Where is it? No, it might actually just be rest of this month then. The 2nd and 16th, I see that one. Yeah, the 2nd and 16th. And the 30th. But I might be able to make some wiggle room and change up a few things with my schedule, since I have more towards the end of the month. So between the 21st and the 28th, plus the 1st of November, there are either going to be deleted cuts of Ghana Bam Bam and probably Playtime, or it's going to be other content. Like the 23rd, I've confirmed, and yeah, the 23rd, I've currently confirmed That's Not My Neighbour, since that has been recorded and edited, and it's currently waiting to go out. But since the deleted cuts, I heavily wait on my dad to do, since I don't want to get rid of perfectly good content. That's a good chunk of what he's done. Like Stardew Valley, there's some cuts in there, but it's between 2 different days, and it's just the money. You don't really need to see that. So that doesn't go into its own cut. Then sometimes he records just an entire video and decides it's not for his. Like, there was a Ghana Batman one where he just continued forward, and it's like, it's the wolf cut. I think he said it a few times during it. And then there's times where I'm recording for my dad's channel, specifically FNAF 2. It took me a few attempts, like several attempts, because I hadn't played FNAF 2 in ages. And I forced myself to sit there through the night and record hours of footage, essentially, in 2 different takes. So I had to go out and eat between them. And yeah, that in itself, it's footage that can be used for its own video. It's not going to just get discarded, even if it doesn't go on my dad's channel. So there's that. But I've done enough talking. I am starving. I've been starving for the past hour. And it is almost 6 p.m. So I want to eat. and go out for a walk. I don't know if I'll be recording Stardew with my friends though. That might have to be for another day. My dad's gonna be back from football and spend the next several hours editing his one. So, because I don't know if the owl is available, because I'm not doing a recording with just the bird. And the owl's a big part of it. Even if the bird just wants to play. So, yeah, there's that. I've got schedules to do, and once October's all done, I can then go and make my November schedule. Yay! I'm only doing videos like far in advance in hopes that I move and I can just post content without having to worry too much. But there's obviously, when I do eventually move, it's a chance I might go from 3 to 2 to 1 with no prior warning, other than my Discord server. Can't help that. So I'm gonna stop rambling because I'm gonna go make myself food and wait half an hour for it to cook. So, yeah. See you guys later. And have a good rest of your day.